Welcome back to the Banjo Bowl as these two rivals go toe-to-toe. Drives to the end zone. Touchdown. Roughriders. Bishop to the end zone. Touchdown. What a catch. And there is John Chick again. What a game for John Chick.
Canada Stadium has been sold out for weeks for the Banjo Bowl. It's a rematch of the Labor Day weekend matchup between Saskatchewan and Winnipeg, which the Riders won. And Michael Bishop, the Bombers quarterback, has been saying all week that we are going to whoop them. We are going to whoop them in Winnipeg today. I'll get your thoughts on that game in just a minute, but first of all, not a perfect day for Anthony Calvillo. Couple of mistakes, but a 56-yard dagger to Kerry Watkins, which sets up the winning touchdown.
Well, nice, efficient game by the Montreal Alouettes, but also some credit to the BC Lions. Remember, it was just a few weeks ago they got destroyed by Winnipeg, 37-10. 400 yards almost of rushing. They came back and played two competitive games. Having said that, BC Lions are back. They're a confident team again.
All right, boy, the BC Lions, that 500 mark is elusive after their 1-4 start. They can't get there today. So, in the West, Saskatchewan is trying to join Calgary for a first-place tie after the Stamps beat Edmonton. What do you see?
Well, you know, when you have a rematch against a team you played the previous week, for the team that loses is usually an advantage because you can fix the things that got you beaten in the first place. And one of the things that Winnipeg had trouble with last week was dealing with Saskatchewan's blitz. They had no answer for it. Saskatchewan would line up one more guy, then the Bombers could block, and they had no adjustments. And the quarterback was just being asked to run around and try to find guys open, and he wasn't able to do it. I'm going to be looking to see what they've got in store, and I believe you know what they might have in store for them.
Yeah, that's right. You know, when you talk about not being able to beat the blitz, but when they were having success in first down, they had 8.4 yards per average on first down. To me, that's outstanding. They're looking for that again, but they're going to change things up a little bit, in my opinion. Look for a lot of hurry-up offense from the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Mike Kelly's going to take Manny Matsakis out of the press box, put Bob Dice up in the press box, and watch for them to try to catch Saskatchewan in a no-huddle offense for most of the game. To me, this is huge and entertaining because Michael Bishop is out there, so Manny Matsakis, he's going to call the play, send him in. Everybody, to me, is going to be interesting to watch because everybody's going to have a wristband.
And I've never had that. I know you were talking to Mike Kelly and got that from him. And in all my years of playing, I never had a wristband where, as a player, I'm watching the sideline and figuring out what I'm doing on the field.
Usually we see the coordinator or the head coach or another quarterback signal those plays in, but Manny Matsakis is going to be signaling to the entire football team, just not the quarterback. To me, this is going to be an interesting aspect of the football game from the get-go.
Winnipeg has struggled to score points, so you know what? If nothing else, you've got to give Mike Kelly and his staff points for trying absolutely everything with a lot of different personnel, a lot of different ideas, and we will see how it works out in a very important game for them at home as they begin a stretch of 6 of their last 9 games at home, and this is a big rivalry game, and here are your starting quarterbacks brought to you by Wendy's and the Baconator, the official hamburger of the CFL, Darian Durant, and Michael Bishop, who has 3 touchdown passes against 7 interceptions. That's the quarterback matchup. The two teams kick it off when we come back. Margaret Chapman of Brandon, Manitoba, you could win a 2009 Nissan Rogue SL if a kickoff is returned for a touchdown. In today's game, thanks to Safeway's Touchdown and Win promotion, and if a second kickoff is returned, you could win $1 million. Let's take you now to Canada Stadium with the call, Chris Cuthbert and Glenn Suter.
TSN is the exclusive broadcaster of the Banjo Bowl and proud home of the 2009 Grey Cup. Well, it's always been an emotional, heated rivalry, and then Troy Westwood poured some gas on the fire. The result, the 6th annual Banjo Bowl, as Saskatchewan meets Winnipeg. A sensational September continues weather-wise. Temperature 22, gentle prairie breeze, and plenty of emotion at Canada Stadium for this game. Ken Miller's Roughriders looking for their 2nd consecutive season sweep of the Bombers. And with that would come a share of first place in the CFL West. On the other sideline, Mike Kelly's Bombers have 6 of their final 9 regular season games at home. And he says it's time for the Bombers to make their run.
Well, as much success as the Saskatchewan Roughriders have had on Labor Day, this game has been a tough one. As they have to come into Canada Stadium, it's an absolute sellout here tonight. This afternoon, I should say, and this is a tough one for the Riders.
The Hatfield and the McCoys ready to go at it again. The Banjo Bowl underway, and a big return here. Javon Johnson, the former Rough Rider, all the way up to the 50-yard line. And that'll set an early tone for the fans here in Winnipeg and for Michael Bishop and the Bombers offense.
Michael Bishop had his best game passing as a Winnipeg Blue Bomber. When you look at the yardage totals on Labor Day, over 300 yards passing. Did not get the win, however. Fred Reed held to under 100 yards on the Labor Day Classic. There's the receiving corps. Terrence Edwards and Darius Bowman over 100 yards on Labor Day.
No huddle. They come out ready to go, and Michael Bishop wants to load it up and go deep. First pass of the game, and it falls incomplete. Intended deep for Robbie Bryant. There is a flag back at the line of scrimmage. And the indication against the Bombers. Michael Bishop with a 60-yard toss on the first play.
Major foul, unnecessary roughness. Winnipeg, number 60. 15 yards from the end of the play. Second down.
Mentioned setting a tone. Apparently, Abi Khan tried to do that, and it cost his team 15 yards.
Winnipeg Blue Bombers ranked 6th in the penalty department, giving up about 100 yards a game in penalties. Put their offense in a hole in the first series and second and real long now.
Takes a little out of that 42-yard return by Javon Johnson. Second down and long. Keith Shulligan in pursuit. And that pass caught by Darius Bowman, who had a big game in the Labor Day Classic. Bowman with 5 catches, 121 yards, and a touchdown. And he has a catch that gets a little of that real estate back, but sets up third down.
Now Mike Kelly more and more confident with Michael Bishop each game out. Feels like he's putting in the time and studying, but you just don't know what type of quarterback you're going to get. Are you going to get the Bishop that led the Roughriders last year in this game to a come from behind win, or are you going to get the Bishop that threw 3 interceptions this year on Labor Day and cost his football team?
So Mike Renaud on to kick the ball away. Slight breeze at the back of the Bombers here in the opening quarter. Should not be nearly the factor it was last week. Jason Armstead back. Long drive kick angled away, and a good one. Couple of hops, and Armstead. Little crease. John Osterhaus to bring him down at the Saskatchewan 25, and a scrap on the field. 51-yard kick, 18 on the return for Armstead.
Yeah, Sadiq Shabazz in there on the special teams. We'll start at linebacker here. Darian Durant gets his start at quarterback. He is coming off the win on Labor Day. His running back in the backfield will be Wes Cates, probably his best game of the season. Last Sunday, there's the receiving corps. They get Andy Fantus back in the lineup. No Jason Claremont, healthy scratch here this afternoon.
Beats with 160 yards from scrimmage. Durant wants to throw deep on first down. He's got Jerome Walker and misses him by a stride or two. So both quarterbacks, the same idea to get out of the gate.
Yeah, and I like the idea for both teams because it really gets that thought in the minds of the defenders when they have to back up in the first play and try and run down deep balls. Here's the defensive starting lineup for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Doug Brown, the leader in that defensive line. 3 sacks for him, 28 tackles. There's Joe Lobendon in the middle for Barron Simpson. More on that as the game goes on. Ian Logan back in the lineup at safety.
Second and 10. 5 receiver set. Keats releases over the middle. Dressler got the catch. And the initial first down for Saskatchewan at the 41. 16 for Weston Dressler.
Well, Weston Dressler just 4 catches on Sunday, but talking to Paul LaPolice, the offensive coordinator, he said he had some opportunities. He could have had a big game, had a couple of the longer throws between he and Durant hooked up on the Labor Day weekend. Probably would have had over 100 yards. He said they had about 8 plays to him that were close. He only had the 4 catches.
Dressler 4th in the league in receiving. It's a first down for the Roughriders. And here's Jerron Walker. And the hitch is taken across midfield and out of bounds at the Winnipeg 54-yard line.
Had a long talk with Darian Durant before the game. He told me how it's starting to really slow down for him. The more film study he does, and he's a guy who will continually self-scout. Take a look at his game, how he can improve it. spends a lot of time watching the film, as every quarterback does, but he says the game is starting to slow down for him now.
Last week, a couple of 9-play, 70-yard plus drives for the Roughriders for major scores in the opening quarter. First down, Keats in the flat. And there's Sadiq Shabazz playing linebacker, and he takes him down. And just a few moments ago on punt coverage, he wanted to send a little message.
Well, this is the rivalry. This is the whole Labor Day and then rematch rivalry getting started, as Sadiq Shabazz pretty excited about playing back in the linebacking corps. Last 2 games he played for Ian Logan at safety, and they move him back down there. One of the reasons Barron Simpson not in the lineup, they bumped Joe Lobendon into the middle and put Sadiq Shabazz back where he was most effective in that front 7.
Aaron Wagner on the receiving end of the right hook. It's 2nd and 9. Durant stands in, looks for Fantuz, and it's out of his reach. Incomplete. Andy Fantuz back in for the first time after missing 5 consecutive weeks with a hamstring.
Yeah, his first 4 games, he didn't have a 100-yard game as he got off to a good start to the season. Not spectacular. Then he had the hamstring injury. He's been working on that. I talked to him in warm-up, said he could still feel the hamstring a little bit, but that he felt it was just tight, that it wasn't pulling again. But you know it's in the back of his mind. It's going to take him a while to get back to game speed.
And I know you probably got the tweet from Jason Claremont, a healthy scratch today. He made that announcement this week. At home watching, as Jamie Borum with the kick that takes a little side bounce out of bounds, and they'll mark that at the 11. Good boot by Borum. The CFL on TSN is brought to you in part by Rona, proud sponsor of the CFL. Rona, doing it right since 1939. Good kick by Borum, so Winnipeg will scrimmage the ball at their own 11. Michael Bishop was the hero of this game last year. He led the Roughriders in the 4th quarter to quite a comeback, putting 20 unanswered points on the board. Now Joe beat his old team, and he took a look there. Fred Reed cuts it back, and a good gain up to the 18, but Michael Bishop really was cranked. Was that Omar Morgan?
Yes, it was. It was Omar Morgan from the corner position. He was coming off the edge. Looked like he was going to come on a corner blitz. It'll come from the right of your screen. Omar Morgan is going to what we used to call zap the quarterback. And on an option play like that, the defense wants to get the ball out of the quarterback's hands as quickly as possible, and that's what Omar Morgan did. He hit him, zapped the quarterback, Michael Bishop, in the backfield, and he had to pitch it immediately.
Fred Reed with 8, 2nd and 2. Bishop the long out. Does it reach there? No, and incomplete, intended for Bowman. So 3rd down, and Winnipeg will have to kick deep from their own end.
You know, 5 catches for 120 yards for Darius Bowman on Labor Day weekend, and that little chemistry created there between he and Michael Bishop, because the passing game for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers has been an issue. Ranked dead last in the CFL coming in, under 200 yards per game.
Back-to-back 2-and-outs. Good kick by Renault. Backpedaling Armstead back around his 37. And Armstead is dropped at the 42-yard line. 54-yard kick by Renault. Customary sellout for this game, and Canada ends with more. Here's Sean Churchill.
Thank you very much, Chris. Excluding playoff games, this is the one game on the schedule that Winnipeg Blue Bomber fans look forward to the most. Some 2,000 Rough Rider fans have also come along to join the party, because this is the first sellout of the entire season for Canadian Stadium. Talking to Doug Brown yesterday, he believes that this is the biggest rivalry in the entire CFL, mainly because this is not city against city. This isn't Toronto versus Hamilton. This is province against province. A year ago, Saskatchewan won this game. The Blue Bombers are hoping that history doesn't repeat itself. Guys?
Yeah, the atmosphere great in Regina. Just the same here. And for Zarka with a run, a rare run for Zarka, and a good one. And, you know, that pleases a lot of fans in the stands as well.
Yeah, they make the trip, and this is sort of they plan the entire weekend back-to-back with the Labor Day weekend.
Does Troy Westwood get a cut? That's what I want to know.
I don't think they send him a check any longer.
7 for Zarka. 2nd and 3. Wes Keats with a cutback, and he should have the first down. Again, Keats last week, 160 yards from scrimmage, 76 on the ground, and 84 on 6 catches. And Ken Miller was saying before the game, that's kind of a template game of how they'd like to deploy Wes Keats.
Well, I don't think there's a better running back in the league catching the ball out of the backfield than Wes Keats. So he really is the true double threat. Depending on what type of defense the Winnipeg Blue Bombers play, he can become more involved either in the passing game or the run game. But you have to have confidence in your running game when it's 2nd and 3rd or 4 or 5 and you still run the football.
And it is a first down. And the Roughriders off to such a terrific start last week as they engineered 72 and 75-yard touchdown drives against a stiff breeze in the first quarter and rode that to victory. Two backs in. Keats released. First down throw, and that's behind Fantuz.
Timing a little off between Darian Durant and Andy Fantuz. That first series, they tried to throw an out to Fantuz, and he came out of his break, slowed down a little bit, and Durant threw it right to the sideline and missed him. This is an inside route where Fantuz is coming into the middle, and I think Darian Durant thought he would continue and then just sit down. And what Fantuz did is he took another 3 or 4 steps into that middle, so Durant missed him behind the intended receiver.
Passing situation, so Derek Doggett checked in, linebacker for Winnipeg. As they go to a 3-man front, flag down, Durant on a roll, and he looks downfield for Dressler. And Dressler unable to bring that in. Lenny Walls in coverage, and again a penalty flag on the field. Gavin Walls telling us, and so is Kim Murphy, that it's going against Saskatchewan.
Offside, Saskatchewan, number 6. That penalty is declined. 3rd down.
Offside, Rob Bagg.
Sadiq Shabazz, we mentioned, back in the linebacking core, but because of his versatility and his ability to be able to play safety, Shabazz right here, you're going to see he starts up in the front 7, but then he bails out here. So when Darian Durant rolls out, now he's got a linebacker deep at safety. It's going to cause him to hold the ball a little bit longer, and then that throw to Dressler outside the right side shoulder and out of bounds.
Javon Johnson, a good Labor Day performance on returns, 4 for 42. Gorham sends it to Johnson at his 14. Up across the 20, and an 11-yard return for Javon Johnson. Winnipeg football when we come back. A lot of talk about the coin toss last week in Regina, so Mike Kelly with a different strategy today as he just sent out one player, Sean Gallant, who is a special teams guy. Didn't want to have too much on the minds of starters on offense or defense, and they lost the toss anyway, but
they lost it, and the Saskatchewan Roughriders, like last week, deferred the decision. So they'll get the choice in the second half.
Not as critical with the win situation. There's Sean Lucas with the tackle on the jet formation to Brock Ralph.
Last week on Labor Day, the Riders won the toss, and the official then turned to Barron Simpson and gave him the choice. And there's really 3 choices there. You can kick, receive, or defend and end. And that time, Barron Simpson said, I'd like to kick the ball this way and basically try and get 2 of the 3 choices instead of just 1. But he said kick the ball first, so that gave the ball back to Saskatchewan, who also got to pick the side they wanted. 2nd and 10, and a pass intended for Robbie Bryant, broken up on a nice defensive play by Lance Frazier. And 3 straight 2-and-outs for Winnipeg. Good position here for Lance Frazier, who, it's a good thing that the refs do not throw the PI flag here, because it looked like Frazier was trailing that left hand. But good position for him. He's the first guy to the ball. No foul.
Roughriders have had a field position edge so far, but nothing on the scoreboard yet. As Renault gets set to kick it to Armstead, who awaits at the 45. And right there, this could be a big return. Armstead across midfield and down to the Winnipeg 51-yard line. So great field position here for the Roughriders, trying to break the ice here in this opening quarter.
Well, they've come out in the first quarter and they've been throwing on first down. May go back to a little more Wes Cateson running. We've also seen one run to Chris Zarka, which is a tendency breaker for Saskatchewan, as he doesn't see the ball a whole bunch. That's just his third rushing play for Zarka, who won't even be in this formation.
Darian Durant now 9-4 as a Saskatchewan Roughrider starter. Take the Cates on a roll. Durant might take off. No, he'll throw. And Rob Begg is there to make the catch near the first down stick and then get tossed back by Lenny Walls.
See how Darian Durant runs the play fake here to Wes Cates. He's going to really show the ball off. And what he's trying to do there is to show the defense that the ball is going to be handed off. Durant right in the middle of your screen. As he turns around, watch how he'll hold it way out there. He holds it out in his hand. That's to flash it to the defense. Say, here's the ball, I'm giving it to Cates. Nope, I'm pulling it. And it really did influence that defensive line. He got out and around the corner. Now he has the option to run or throw, and he hits Bagg on the sideline. Boy, what a catch early on in the game that Rob Bagg made to keep the first series alive that resulted in a touchdown. It really was a difference maker, even though it was that early in the game.
Put it on the highlight reel. He doesn't make the catch, and it's a 2-and-out on the opening drive. Instead, they move it 75 yards and score on the first possession of the game. Guy from the number 7 ranked Queens Golden Gales, and I see the Simon Fraser Klansman in the top 10 after a convincing win over Manitoba.
And we got one of our players on the field. There's your guy coming out to wide receiver. My guy's in the middle of that defensive line, and Doug Brown.
A few guys in this game. Here's the toss. Cates first down and down the sidelines for a lot more. Wes Cates has a first down for Saskatchewan.
It looked like Gavin Walls off the edge was trying to come down as hard as he could. Actually, it was Dorian Smith right there, and he's going to try and squeeze this play, but then he underestimates the speed of Wes Cates, who gets that corner on him and then picks up 5, 6, 7 more yards.
13 in all for Cates and a first down at the Winnipeg 28. 4 receivers wide side, but they give it inside. And here's Cates, and the pile gets pushed a little further downfield to around the 22-yard line, close to 6 for Cates.
Wes Cates just has 100-yard rushing game, which I know surprises a lot of people. That was against the Hamilton Tiger Cats. He's been close against Calgary, just a yard shy, and then, of course, that Labor Day game, Labor Day weekend game against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, we had 76, but he was over 150 from the line of scrimmage, run and receiving.
Missed the first couple of games. He's 7th in league rushing, 2nd and 4th, and quickly third to Dressler, and Dressler's got a first down. Brought down by Derek Doggett at the 15, but the Roughriders are marching.
Weston Dressler just allows the momentum of the defense, and he's in behind the 3 receivers to the short side of the field. Not very often will offenses put 4 receivers into the short side, but this is a good play to do it, where you have the first 3 can go out and try and get a block, and then the 4th guy, Dressler, he can run off of those blocks, but he made a couple miss.
Like Charlton, one of those who missed. It's down to the 10. And it's first and goal. They fake the reverse, and it's Wes Cates with the catch and the touchdown. Little dump pass to Wes Cates, and the Roughriders have the first major score.
A little bit like a point guard there, Darian Durant, kind of cutting through the key, looking like he was going to take a jump shot, and then just dumping it off and dishing the ball over to Wes Cates. Wes Cates starts in the backfield to the right of the formation. That's going to cut all the way across the formation to the left. There's the little dish off to Wes Cates. Darian Durant gives it to him as he jumps through the air, and Cates finds the end zone.
2nd touchdown catch of the year for Cates. 4th touchdown overall. And And the Roughriders have a 5-play, 51-yard touchdown march. Extra point from Luka Kanji. And Saskatchewan strikes first in the Banjo Bowl.
Nice play call here by the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Watch Joe Lobendon, the middle linebacker, who has to now cover Wes Cates. Cates moves to his right, and then he'll cut across the formation, and Lobendon gets caught in the backfield. He's trying to cover Cates coming out. Now watch how late he is arriving as Durant goes over the top, dumps it to him. And there you see Joe Lobendon finally reacting, but not in time.
So 7-0 Saskatchewan. Javon Johnson from his 14. And Johnson, another good kick return up to the 44.
Pretty athletic play for Darian Durant to just get him the ball. There's Cates right here in the middle of your screen, and he's going to work this way, cut down, and now the option for Durant is he's going on the edge here, and he's working on Dorian Smith. So he's just got option Smith. He goes right to the quarterback. He drops it over to Cates. Joe Lobendon got caught in the trail position.
Bombers going no huddle, still looking for their initial first down of the game. And pressure. Sean Lucas off the edge with first contact, and Keith Shulligan makes sure Bishop hits the turf.
Sean Lucas, the one linebacker that not many talk about in the Saskatchewan Roughrider defense, and he's way over here on the far left of your screen, coming right off the edge clean. They're going to load up that side. Tad Cornegay is over there, and they also have Stevie Baggs to eat up a couple of blocks. That leaves Lucas free. Real surprised the Bombers haven't run the ball.
Again, didn't run much on Labor Day. 2nd and 16. Shulligan in pursuit. And out of the reach of Vidarius Bowman. And Winnipeg now has 17 yards of offense and 4 consecutive 2-and-outs to start.
Well, you know, they lead the league rushing the football, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, at just shy of 150 yards a game. But the one thing I will say is when you look at the way that the Riders are playing, you've got 7 right on the line of scrimmage trying to talk Mike Kelly out of running the football and make Michael Bishop the passer.
Last week, 33 pass, 14 rush plays for a team that's been over 50% run this season. Good kick by Renault, and Armstead backpedaled inside his 20 and is dropped at the 27-yard line. And Derek Doggett, the special teams demon, was in on that blue wave downfield. So 3.5 minutes left here in the opening quarter. 2 first-quarter touchdowns last week for Darian Durant, and he has one here on that toss to Wes Cates.
You know, you can learn a lot when you don't win a game, and Michael Bishop, I mentioned, had his best game on Labor Day passing with over 300 yards, didn't win. We'll see what he's learned from that. Darian Durant's best passing game yardage-wise was the Montreal loss this year. He was over 300.
Cates inside and not going anywhere there. Stuffed on the play. Michael Landry, the newcomer, in on the defensive line for the Bombers, and Mark Nelson's group.
Yeah, he has got a very athletic group. The secondary much improved from a year ago, actually from the last 2 years, and a front 7 that's as good as it gets in the league. He likes to keep it simple. His philosophy is to not do too many checks on the field, call a defense, and let the guys play.
2nd and 10. And that one batted down, caught by Durant. And big pressure up front again, and Gavin Walls looked like the man who got his hand on it.
Well, I'll show you Gavin Walls. He's here. Also linebacker in the middle. I think it's Derek Doggett right in the middle. I'm not sure which one of the two gets their hand on it. Now Darian Durant cannot throw the football again. You can't have 2 forward passes on one play, but he just tried to recover it so it wasn't intercepted by Gavin Walls.
3rd and long, and Borum, who missed A day of practice with migraine headaches this week. And to boot it away. Johnson fields it on the fly at the 42. Gets a block, but isn't going anywhere. Jocelyn Fournette led the cover team downfield. And we have a penalty marker and another dust up just away from the ball. Aaron Wagner in the middle of that. He's probably still burning about the Sadiq Shabazz punch on the opening kickoff.
When you get the dust ups, it's usually on the teams. Punt cover, punt return team, kickoff cover. On limited rosters, a lot of starters have to play on those cover teams as well. Derek Doggett, one of the best in the league for Mike Kelly on the cover team, 16 special teams tackle, and we just saw him with a knockdown.
Well, they're walking back.
Major foul, face mask. Saskatchewan, 42. Holding on the return. Winnipeg, 5 yards net, first down.
Looked like they were walking it back deeper into Winnipeg territory, but then they did an about face, and
Mike Kelly said, don't do that to me. You're right. They were walking back about 15 yards, then turned around and came back and placed the ball. He had a little smile for the officials there.
That gain of 5. Not smiling about his offense so far.
No, not at all. You know, the Saskatchewan Roughriders are loading up the line of scrimmage, but be strength against strength.
And they're going to throw again, and out of the backfield, Fred Reed can't track it down. Penalty marker on the play. And this is why Mike Kelly's talked about not being one-dimensional.
Offside. Saskatchewan, number 14. A 5-yard penalty, remains first down.
The safety, James Patrick, across the line of scrimmage too quickly. So 1st and 5. And he has a Winnipeg first down. Their first of the game comes over 13 minutes in.
Let's take a look at that starting defensive lineup for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. John Chick, 5 sacks in the last 3 games. Tad Cornegay, 2 interceptions on the Labor Day weekend. And there's the secondary, Eddie Davis, the veteran in that group.
Starting lineups are brought to you by Nissan, fan and proud sponsor of the CFL. So the Bombers do get their initial first down and move into Saskatchewan territory. It looked like the Bombers were well offside as the receivers to the wide side had an early jump.
You know, I know the Saskatchewan Roughriders defensively are loading up the line of scrimmage, bringing a lot of players up there, sometimes 7 and 8 players, but the strength of the offense for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers is their run game. And the way that Saskatchewan's lined up, there are ways to try and get a crease. If you get one crease because there's not a second layer of linebackers, you could get a big gain out of Fred Reed.
Procedure, Winnipeg, number 69. 5-yard penalty, remains first down.
Calling Glenn January the right tackle. Looked like the receivers were well ahead of the play as well. And so 5 yards back, 1st and 15.
Glenn January had his hands full last weekend against John Chick.
Not going anywhere. Fred Reed. There's the middle linebacker, Mike McCullough, in place of Ray Williams, who's practicing again, maybe a couple of weeks away from returning to the Saskatchewan lineup.
And when your strength is the running game, you're looking at probably 15 to 20 carries, and that's what Fred Reed, they'd like to see carried around 15 or 20 times. On Labor Day, he had 12 for 41.
So 2nd and 15, pressure. Flag in the backfield. Bishop throws incomplete. Intended for Terrence Edwards, but I believe Lance Frazier is going to get called for contact on a receiver downfield. He was tied up with Robbie Bryant.
Illegal contact on a receiver. Saskatchewan number 15. 10-yard penalty. Remains second down.
So a 10-yard penalty. They mark it at the Saskatchewan 42. And be 3rd and 5. That was on the opposite side of the field, not close to where Michael Bishop was looking. So 2nd and 5. A nice catch in front of Lance Frazier, and it's a first down for the Bombers.
That was a tough catch, too, for Terrence Edwards. He was trying to get to the sideline. Wasn't very deep throw, but the timing was a little late, so Edwards had to sprint to it. The ball was a little bit high. He double clutched it, but it's a key one because it moves the chains.
First time this season Winnipeg had 2 men with over 100 yards. Edwards with 120. Bowman 121. And Michael Bishop with a season high 329.
Yank that end up.
And the chain's broken on that last collision on the sideline, so
They bent it.
Chain gang's got to do a quick repair job.
That's good. The chain is good, so let's set these up.
Chain is good, they said. They just bent the pole. That chain gang, when they get the players are that close to the sideline, they got to let that thing drop. It's also an injury situation can occur if a player hits that in their ribs.
Mentioned Bishop at 329, the second quarterback to throw for over 300 against the Saskatchewan defense, and coincidentally the other a former Rough Rider as well, Kerry Joseph. Here comes the try. This time opens up for Reed. Touchdown Bombers.
Well, this is why I was surprised we didn't see the run from the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Yes, you can load up the line of scrimmage, but the way Saskatchewan is playing it, they've got everybody in one level. And if Fred Reed could get to that next level, he'd be gone, and that's exactly what happens. The Saskatchewan Roughriders right up on the line of scrimmage here. No linebackers back in this area, so Fred Reed just has to make one guy miss or hit a seam. And he does that, bounces to the outside, no one in the second level, and it's off to the races for 3-2.
Give it to Fred X. And he delivers his 6th touchdown of the year, 5th in as many games. Extra point is good. And in the final minute of this opening quarter of the Banjo Bowl, the Bombers offense finally has a little traction.
Yes! Winnipeg in the house! Yes, sir! Let's go.
And only 41 yards in all of the Labor Day Classic. 35 on that. Scamper to the end zone.
See that one level I'm talking about for Saskatchewan here. You've got no linebackers in behind for a second level. Now Fred Reed can just get a crease, maybe get one block. Who gives him the block on the outside? Vincent Bernard gets one on Mike McCullough. That gives him the corner. Now it's a foot race, and Fred Reed will beat you that way. And I think now the Winnipeg Blue Bombers may go back to the run a little more often.
Leading rusher in the Canadian Football League this season. Made his first start last year in this game after the Labor Day loss and the trade of Charles Roberts. And there's no doubt who the #1 man is in the Winnipeg offense now.
Yes.
Two of their best weapons offensively are in the backfield. One being Fred Reed, the other Vincent Bernard, who made a nice block to spring his partner.
Stu Ford on the return. Ian Logan's got him sized up with the 27.
And that play gives the Winnipeg defense a little life as well as they come onto the field now, knowing that their offense can put a drive together. Doug Brown had a sack a week ago. Labor Day also added 5 tackles. He has 3 sacks now on the season.
Should be the final play of the opening quarter. Beats the lone back. Durant steps up, and that pass delivered low and incomplete. Intended for Jerron Walker, and that is the first 15 minutes in the books. And the Fred Reed touchdown scamper has it tied at 7. First quarter stats in the Banjo Bowl brought to you by Tim Hortons. Always fresh, always.
Winnipeg Blue Bombers really didn't have any numbers until that last drive. They had 35 yards rushing on one play from Fred Reed when they finally went to the run game. Saskatchewan in the first part of that first quarter, a real good job of talking Mike Kelly out of running the ball.
And as you mentioned, you can stack it up, but sooner or later you got to do what you do best, and Fred Reed did that late in the quarter.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you go with your strength until they stop you, and they really didn't in the first quarter. And I love the nickname.
Yeah,
Fred X.
Yeah, that's not mine. I'm not that clever, but you can count on Winnipeg fans to come up with a pretty good nickname, and they have for Fred Reed, who is probably the most popular guy right now in that Winnipeg Blue Bomber lineup.
Every star running back needs a good nickname.
2nd and 10. Durant underneath. There's Walker, and he is trapped there by Javon Johnson all the way to the corner. Makes the defensive play, and the Roughriders will have to boot it away.
Javon Johnson contributing in a lot of different ways for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. They've asked him to go back and return kicks. He's done a very good job there, and here in perfect position and coverage on Jerron Walker. That's a tough route to cover when the receiver's running across the middle and you're in a trail position, but Javon Johnson closed quickly. Now he'll go back and receive the kick.
He got dinged in the Labor Day Classic. They were a little worried about his availability for this game, but rated out well enough on the baseline test to be in this game, and here he is on the return across the 40 up to the 45-yard line. So he continues to be a threat on returns. 15 for Javon Johnson as we join Sean Churchill.
Thank you very much, Chris. Back in December when Mike Kelly joined the Bombers, he said no one was going to touch the offense but him. But with the woes, he has decided to make some changes. He's bringing running back coach Manny Matsakis out of the booth and down to the sidelines. Matsakis will call the bulk, if not all, of the plays this afternoon for the Bombers. Yeah. The two of them met back in 1988 at a football camp. They trust each other, and Kelly hopes the two combined will help bring the Bombers out of their woes. Guys?
Thank you, Sean. And they continue for the second week using the grease board plays sent in. Here's Reed, and this time swapped and tossed down. Sean Lucas there.
Yeah, really unconventional way of calling plays. You know, you've often seen coaches signal plays to the quarterback, and they'll do those charts, and then the quarterback has a wristband. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers want to give everybody wristbands, and Manny Matsakis is going to call the plays now from Mike Kelly from the bench. And those guys will signal them with those numbered cards there, and they'll have a dummy call and then the live call.
They've upgraded the cards this week. Second down, Bishop takes off, and he'll lunge to the 50, short of the first down. Michael Bishop did not carry the football last week and has taken off just 13 times this season.
Yeah, and so the wristbands that are always on the quarterback's hand. There's Michael Bishop's left hand. You see his wristband. But now the big boys have one too. The offensive linemen, look, they've got a wristband. Now, and I'm sure when they first heard in the meeting that you guys are going to wear a wristband that has the plays on, they went, what? That doesn't seem like an offensive line thing to do. But now everybody on offense has their own wristband, so they just look at the number, they look at the corresponding play, and away they go.
What a fake. The snap directly to Fred Reed, and he'll get stopped short. I don't think he got there. Daniel Francis stepped up, number 35. Lance Fraser is there. Let's wait for the spot, but the defense coming onto the field for Winnipeg, and it looks like a turnover on downs for the Bombers.
Well, this is the area where you really shouldn't be surprised. If a team's going to fake a kick, it's usually going to be around midfield. There's Fred Reed. He's one of the personal protectors, and at the direct snap to him, he goes to the left side of the formation. But tremendous pursuit from the return team, who was not fooled at all. They were really playing a punt-safe type of style of defense.
Roughriders were +5 in the give-take category last week. And Rob Bagg fell on the play, and the ball skips into his hands. Incomplete.
Yeah, a lot of talk about why Jason Claremont was kept off the roster, and Andy Fantuz is back. That's one reason. The coaching staff telling me today that Claremont has a bit of a quad, although he said in his Twitter that he was a healthy scratch. But one of the reasons for it is the play of Rob Bagg, Chris Getzlaff, and Andy Fantuz returning.
2nd and 10 from just across midfield. Big pressure, Doug Brown, and Darian Durant throws it into the bench. Did he get to the line of scrimmage? They're going to throw the flag as the big man turned up the heat. 5 tackles and a sack last Sunday, and he has his 42nd career sack.
Yeah, and there was some confusion. Timing is off a little bit between the receivers here, and that's probably, this is the first game in a while. Look at Fantuz and Bagg. They're in the same place. And
There's no infraction on the play as the ball crossed the line of scrimmage.
Fantuz is the guy who's supposed to be the intended target coming all the way across. Now, he can't get there because this guy, Doug Brown's going to push up the field. Really no target here for Darian Durant. So he throws it out of bounds because of that confusion between Bagg and Fantuz.
And they do pick up the flag, so no sack, but a big defensive play by Doug Brown. And so Borum will kick. Of course, again, this is not a bad place for Saskatchewan to fake, but not likely.
Yeah, and this is where you play punt safe because you don't want to give up the fake like Saskatchewan didn't.
Big boot, and it will sail down around the goal line, and it will be a point as J.B. Borum just misses the corner. Closed captioning of the CFL on TSN is brought to you by Sport Check. Sport Check, the power of sport. These two teams have met 20 times since 2000, dead even, 10 wins apiece.
I love Ryan Donnelly right there in Glen January looking at their wristbands. I wonder if Chris Schultz ever wore a wristband with plays on it.
Make the big men feel like quarterbacks.
Yeah, that's as close as they'll get.
At the 35, play doesn't get off.
I mentioned Glen January. It was a tough Labor Day weekend for the January. He's going one-on-one a ton with John Chick, who had a couple of sacks, 4 tackles.
Illegal procedure, Winnipeg, number 57. 5-yard penalty, remains first down.
Brendan Labatt, the Weyburn native who celebrated his 23rd birthday yesterday, was the man who flinched.
When you take a look at overall performance from the Winnipeg offensive line, pretty good this year, just giving up 14 sacks, which is 2nd in the CFL after 9 weeks.
1st and 15. Bishop stands in. A dart to Bowman up to the 50-yard line. A first down for the Bombers.
This is called a dig route from Adarius Bowman. And what he's doing is he's working his way down the field 12, 15 yards, and then he's just going to come right across the middle. And when he does that, you see how Bishop looks off to his left and then comes back, has a nice throwing lane, keeps it nice and low and hard so that Eddie Davis in coverage can't get to the football.
21 for the former Rider who had a breakout game last week. It was an impressive performance and one the Bombers feel like back up. Here's a pass picked off, and there were 3 interceptions last week, and there's one thrown into traffic by Mikkel Bishop that's been intercepted by Sean Lucas. And the Roughriders have their 2nd turnover of the half.
Wendy's Kick for $1 Million is back. Go to Wendy's, upsize your combo, and get a game card for a chance to win instant prizes. A 2009 Nissan Rogue, JVC Home Electronics, Esquire watches, and Wendy's gift cards and food prizes. Plus, get bonus entries for a chance to be one of 4 to go head-to-head to Kick for $1 million. Enjoy a Wendy's combo and get a Kick for $1 Million game card today.
A cheer can inspire a nation. Canada, we need you. Be the one to create the Hockey Canada cheer. Just create it, cheer it, and send it to Pepsi.ca. And you could be leading thousands of passionate Canadian fans with your cheer. Create your legacy. Enter your cheer at Pepsi.ca.
Jean-Luc is right here in the linebacking core, is going to stay right in that position, and this in the risk and reward categories for Michael Bishop is risk off the charts. He throws it all the way back across his body, and you're going to see Lucas just sit there in the middle. So very, very risky throw to throw it back into the middle like that.
Second interception for Lucas on the year, the 8th by Bishop, and West Cates with a big run again. Gets the helmet knocked right off. What a jolt West Cates takes.
Well, we've seen one of the downsides of Joe Lobendon is when he's asked to cover, but this is an enormous upside. He's just to the left of your screen here, and he's going to slide over on West Cates. This is the big upside for Joe Lobendon. He can hit in the hole, and that's a big one. As good as it gets in the run game.
An 11-yard romp for Cates to the first down. At the 38, Dressler fakes the reverse, hides the football. Can he get to the corner? No, ran out of real estate there and took a jolt. He lost his helmet too.
He's starting to turn it up a notch a little bit. Dressler will often do this. He'll cut across the formation. Here he is here, and what he does is he's going to cut across the formation. He's done it a couple of times now where they can fake it to him, give it to him. Now coming back the other way is Jerron Walker. He fakes the reverse to him, tries to hide it from the defense, but the Winnipeg defense not fooled. And once again, Joe Lobendon right there.
Lenny Walls with the shot. Better buckle up. Against his Bomber D's. 2nd and 9. And Durant. That one was caught by Jerron Walker. Walker came up with it. Javon Johnson went for the interception and came up empty.
Yeah, this is all about concentration for Jerron Walker on the sideline. He's going to run the timing out route here, and he's going to do it on Javon Johnson, who's in absolute perfect position, but gambles on the football here. He sees it, he jumps it. Good concentration from Jerron Walker, even though the hand's out there distracting him, he comes up with the catch.
He's looking for a league-leading 5th interception to no avail. It's a Saskatchewan first down. Short drop, looking to the end zone, and incomplete, intended for Fantus, and Jonathan Hefty in coverage.
Gone to a couple of hitch passes, a couple of timing passes on the outside. Jerron Walker on a reverse. This time they're going to have Walker on the outside here, and they're going to bring him into the middle like this. Fake that with Fantus going down the sideline. They get what they want coverage-wise, and Fantus ends up getting in behind Javon Johnson there, who got caught looking at Walker, but he can't come up with the catch.
And the pass just about perfect. 2nd and 10. It's locked in motion. And the screen back to Cates. Got a block. Got a flag. Cates dropped at the 14-yard line. He's close to a first down. Looks like this one's coming back.
Gene Mikowski made a block on Joe Lobendon. I don't know if it was close or not. It looked like Lobendon kind of went down like he had been hit in the back.
Gene, not one to talk a lot to the officials, but he chased one of the officials down, and now he's looking at the clock because he doesn't buy this call.
Yeah, he wants to see the replay on the clock here.
Holding Saskatchewan, number 60. A 10-yard penalty, remains 2nd down.
3rd on the all-time rider list in games played, number 243 this afternoon.
And there is Mikowski right there, and there is Lobendon, and he basically brings him down. He's got the hand around the waist of the middle linebacker, and that's right at the point of attack. So that's a foul that the officials have to call.
2nd and 20. And falls incomplete. Intended for Walker. And they're working on that side with Javon Johnson again.
And they really are trying to work that side of the field. And this time they try and, rather than trick Javon Johnson, this time they're just going to try and straight out beat him. But Javon Johnson in perfect position once again. That was Walker, I pointed out. See, nothing fancy this time. No double moves, just straight down the field and try and throw it up and hope your receiver comes up with the catch. But I like the way Darian Durant's throwing the football. Really should have had a touchdown pass earlier on in that series.
Just 71% for Luka Kanji on the year. He's 6 of his last 10. Sizing up a 40-yarder. And Kanji puts this one up and through. And the Rough Riders lead is now 4. The CFL on TSN is brought to you in part by Molson Canadian. This is our beer. So Antonio Hall gets a roughing penalty at the end of that field goal. And he's explaining, I got face mask, so I had to do something, but it cost them 15 yards, and they'll have to kick off from their 20.
Substituting in and out for Chris Best at that guard position. They move Gene Mikowski out to tackle.
This guy's been busy. Javon Johnson's got it up to the 35. Ball came loose. And the Bombers get back on it.
I believe it was Landry that Antonio Hall got into. It was after the last play. And there's the pushing and shoving. Newcomer, and the helmet comes flying off, and Hall with a left hook, and that's why the Saskatchewan Roughriders had to kick off deep in their end. But not great field position, or not terrible field position for Michael Bishop in that you calculate in the penalty.
Well, they've talked about getting both phases of their offense, passing and running, going on the same day. It hasn't happened yet. There's a completion to Bowman. Bowman drops the ball. And Donovan Alexander looks like he's on it for Saskatchewan. That's the 3rd turnover of the opening half. There is a flag on the play.
The pocket starts to collapse on Michael Bishop as he starts to scramble up in it. He just sees Adarius Bowman coming across the middle. But Bowman got careless with the football as he started to run with it after the fact.
Victimized by too many mistakes last week, and they're starting to add up again.
After the change of possession, we have a major foul, unnecessary roughness, Winnipeg number 60. 15 yards from the end of the play, automatic first down.
Bobby Kahn called there. Yeah, that's a couple of penalties for him. Let's take a look at the play, and you're going to see Bishop here as this pocket starts to collapse on him. He's going to step up, and he just sees Adarius Bowman in time. Now, Bowman gets a little careless here. He's got that ball way out away from his body, and it's stripped on the play by, I believe, Tad Cornegay.
Tad Cornegay, who was such a big part of last week's win. A couple of interceptions, part of 3 turnovers of the 6 committed by Winnipeg. Last week, Durant on a roll, and he's got a wide open Rob Bagg down the sidelines, and Bagg is pushed out at the 10.
Yeah, last weekend the Saskatchewan Roughriders scored 13 points off of those 6 turnovers, because that's really how you complete the whole process. Is if you get that turnover, to take the momentum, you need to score offense. Darian Durant's off to a good start here. He's patient with it. Nice throw on the run to Rob Bagg on the sideline.
28-yard play. And it's 1st and goal as the ball just nosing inside the Bomber 10. Durant himself. Darian Durant, an easy touchdown score. So a couple of plays after the Bowman fumble, and the Roughriders add to their lead.
Joe Lobin down the middle linebacker is going to be influenced here by the play action to Wes Cates. Wes Cates gets the play fake here going one direction. little bit on influence there. He sits in the hole, and that allows Darian Durant the chance to get out the opposite side.
Darian Durant with his 3rd touchdown run of the year. 10 points off turnovers for the Riders.
What's up, everybody back home? Mom and Daddy, I love you.
Check that, 11 points off turnovers now.
We here. Let's go.
And this 18-7.
Yeah, sorry, Chris. This is a design play, too, by Saskatchewan here, because over here you're going to see a real nice kick-out block by the right tackle in Joe Bell. He's going to start out on that right side. This is a design play because he's over there to kick out and seal. Now, he's got that area sealed, so now Darian Durant has the corner. Multiple options for quarterback Darian Durant. He could give it there to Wes Cates. He can take it and run with it, or he could stay back there and throw the football. Trying to keep that Winnipeg Blue Bomber defense guessing.
Darian Durant said this week, in the second half, I want to quarterback the best ball security team in the league. And I think this first half has illustrated the importance of ball security, as the difference in the game, the 3 Bomber turnovers. And no mistakes so far by Saskatchewan. Blasted into the end zone.
He's going to give it up now,
Johnson is going to put a knee down and give up another point. The Grey Cup MVP from 2007 electing not to bring that out.
Well, I think James Johnson kind of looked to the official to see if he had come out and then gone back in. I'm not sure if he was sure where he was in the field, because he sort of hesitated and looking at the official going, can I still put a knee down and only give up a point and keep the ball? Because if he runs out of the end zone, then goes back in and gives a knee, it's a safety.
Kelly wants to have a visit and confer on that decision.
But once he figured that out, he had to get his knee down because he hesitated that long. Now the cover team for Saskatchewan is right there.
So it's 19-7. Bombers have given up the ball in their last 2 possessions. Interception and a fumble, and now a sack as John Chick will take the sack lead in the Canadian Football League. Number 8 for sack before Chick, who had one taken away on a bit of accounting by the league office this week.
5 sacks for John Chick in the last 3 games. He's added 7 tackles. That's his 6th in 4 now. A couple of knockdowns as well. The hottest rush end in the Canadian Football League over the last 3 weeks.
Went back through the sack totals from a number of weeks ago, and Chick was given credit for one that should have gone to Luke Mullender. They made the change, and now he's got number 8. Screen, Bernard, and ball is knocked loose. Roughriders look like they've got it again. Mike McCullough with the strip, and it's the 4th turnover of the first half by the Bomber offense.
You know, Chris, and I don't want to take anything away from the Saskatchewan Roughriders and creating turnovers. There's Vincent Bernard right there. He's going to take this little screen. It's well set up and looks like it's going to be well executed, but right now the Bombers are a little careless with the ball. These aren't huge hits that are causing the ball to be jogged loose. These are guys kind of grabbing at it, and that's just being a little sloppy as a ball carrier, whether it be the receiver or the running back. You shouldn't be able to lose the ball with a grab like that from Mike McCullough. Big hit, yes, you could say that that's a forced fumble.
So Chick with the sack and then the fumble, and right back to work. Go the Riders, back to Fantus. He's got this one. Lenny Walls takes him out, but they'll mark him at the 4-yard line. Andy Fantus is back in the Rough Rider offense.
Yeah, and this is all about the throw, too, from Darian Durant, because Andy Fantus, he does run a nice route here, and he's right on the inside. He's working off Dressler here. Now, he's going to run that corner route, but he has 2 guys covering him high. It ends up. One is Javon Johnson. Now, that ball has to be thrown on a line to pull him back towards the line of scrimmage, or Lenny Walls is there to knock it out of the air.
First catch since July for Andy Fantus. First and goal inside the 5. Quarterback option, Wes Cates. Touchdown. Roughriders make the Bombers pay for another mistake.
Points off of turnovers and making sure you do make the opposition pay. There's Wes Cates. He's going to run the option with Darian Durant. Nice spacing between quarterback and running back. And now it's one-on-one. Shabazz, Cates in the open field. And Shabazz had to hustle so fast to get to contain. He overran the play a little bit. Wes Cates took advantage of that. Crossed the goal line.
18 points off turnovers in this game. Now up to 110 on the year, so they're threatening Calgary for the league lead in that department. Conji the extra point, and this one's getting away from the home side.
Yeah, Gene Mikowski here, Chris, with a big block because he changes the angle of Joe Lobendon. Watch Mikowski here. He's the left tackle now. As he comes out, I'm going to get you guys to freeze it for a second. It's right there. Now, see how he's got that block. If Joe Lobendon can fill this hole and Shabazz is outside, they've got this play. But because Mikowski gets that block on Joe Lobendon, changes the angle, now you've got two guys in contain and no one for the cutback. Wes Cates takes that cutback lane and scores. So big block there by the veteran of 15 years, Gene Mikowski.
And some Bomber fans are asking, is this because Barron Simpson's not in that lineup?
Well, you know, it'll be a topic of discussion during the week, but it seems like every week in Winnipeg there's a new topic.
So Wes Cates has a pair of touchdowns in this game, and on the last 4 Winnipeg possessions, a turnover on downs, an interception, a Bowman fumble, and a Bernard fumble.
There are turnovers or giveaways, and then there are forced takeaways. Right now the Bombers are giving it away.
That one will sail through the end zone. They'll bring it out to the 25.
And that's just about mental focus and controlling the football. Once you get that football, to tuck it away. And right now the Riders taking advantage of those turnovers, putting points on the board when they get that turnover, and Mike Kelly now in a hole. This is difficult for a team that relies on their defense and it relies on their running game to have success. When you get behind in the score and your strength offensively is your running game, which we haven't seen much of. Fred Reed has still 5 carries in the first half. One of them went for 35 yards and a touchdown. So the Bombers go away from that run, but they have to now try and come back from a deficit like they had to do on Labor Day weekend.
10 turnovers in 6 quarters in this Saskatchewan-Manitoba rivalry.
And you know that's what Mike Kelly will talk about at halftime. Protecting the ball, and not to where you have to stop running, but a little more mental focus when you have it in your hands. You got to give credit to the Riders. They're stabbing at the ball, but this is a Darius Bowman. He was just careless with it. That wasn't really a big hit that jogged it loose. That turned into a touchdown by Darian Durant in a hurry. And then we saw Vincent Bernard. Again, this is just a little grab of the ball by Mike McCullough. A lack of focus by Bernard that turns into a Wes Cates touchdown. So just like that, 14 points on the board, and the Bombers wondering what happened.
So Mike Kelly again, as we mentioned off the top of the show, feeling it was time for a run for this Bomber team with the schedule finally in their favor with 6 of the last 9 games on home turf. But this is a team that has scored just 1 touchdown in their last 3 home games. Here's Fred Reed taking that little release. Bishop got clocked, and the penalty flag on the play is Stevie Baggs with a late hit, I believe, on the quarterback.
Yeah, I think it was. And this was really not intentional by Stevie
Major
Baggs.
Foul, roughing the passer. Saskatchewan, number 90. 15-yard penalty from the end of the play. First down.
Stevie Baggs comes off the edge there, and I think he was just trying to avoid contact. He's right at the top of that defensive line. They put 5 up in the line of scrimmage this time. He's going to come off the edge hard, and as Bishop throws this outside, he's going to try and get out of the way, and he can't, so he tries to hold him up, and he can't, and draws the flag.
Brings the ball to the Winnipeg 50, first down. Bernard under 40-yard line, a guy that ran for over 100 in BC and got overshadowed by the Fred Reed 260-yard game.
Well, this is the great changeup they have, and the double weapons they have in the backfield with Fred Reed on one play. They can play them both back there, and Vincent Bernard, who did not have a carry Labor Day weekend, picks up good yardage there.
And that was a surprise after 11 carries for 112 against the Lions to not touch the ball last week. A pass off the hands of Terrence Edwards incomplete. And that brings us to the 3-minute warning with the Roughriders in the lead. 2:50 left, first half in the Banjo Bowl, and then we'll join the best football panel on television. Thrown at the half coming up with Randorf, Climby, Dunnigan, and Schultz.
Wow. I hope they're paying you for that one.
And there's a lot of them starting today.
It'll be a big series here for the Bombers to try and finish this drive. They have lots of time to do it.
Bishop. A lot of steamboats. Anybody home? Time running out. Downfield, jump ball, and intercepted, but Omar Morgan was out of bounds, so it's an incompletion.
I was talking to the secondary of the Saskatchewan Roughriders before the game, and I asked them about playing Michael Bishop. They said the one thing we know is that no matter where you are on the field, you have to stay with your man. You have to stay with your coverage. You can't cheat away if Bishop rolls one side or the other, because he has the arm strength to throw it anywhere on the field, no matter where or what direction he rolls in. And I think he wanted to throw it back to the wide side there, but that secondary stayed in coverage on the backside.
And the one time he's done that today, it didn't work out very well.
I'm surprised they don't have the field goal team out here.
Renault is going to try and pin them instead. Ball bouncing down around the 7. Armstead picked up, late flag. But they elected not to try a 47-yarder with Cerna into a breeze that would be a factor.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a breeze. I don't know that it's that strong. I mean, it's a team that's scrambling, could use some momentum.
No yards. Winnipeg number 22. 5-yard penalty. First down.
John Gallant called on the no yards, but now they've got them deep, and there is time for a 2-and-out and better field position.
Yeah, no question, and there's time to get that 2-and-out and then reload, but you know, your kicker's kicking 86%, 19 of 22 on the season. He has a long of 54. There is a bit of a breeze. Maybe it's a stronger win on the field level than it is from where we see it, which is sort of the flags on the goalpost.
That coach looks like, obviously, he's not happy with the first half, and he's working on the halftime address. Durant in trouble. Gavin Walls trying to track him down. And Darian Durant doesn't want to make a mistake as he throws it away. Wendy's Friday Night Football continues later this week. The Calgary Stampeders, an impressive win in Edmonton, roll into Hamilton to take on the Tiger Cats in an east-west battle. Live coverage begins at 7 o'clock Eastern or Pacific. Looking forward to a trip to Ivor Wynn.
Dragon boat racing on the Red River here in Winnipeg. Well, I was going to say, I don't know how long that race is, but 3 was pulling away there.
Probably means you're picking 3 to win.
I get first draft pick, right? Does that work?
Second and long, quarterback draw. There's a block. And Durant dives across the 20 to the 22, and he'll be close to what would be a valuable first down.
Yeah, again, a designed running play for Saskatchewan's Darian Durant to go off the block of Wes Cates, who's going to lead this around the edge. Wes Cates is the key here because he lines up there, and then what he's going to do is come, and then he'll lead it through the hole. So this is designed. It's not to try and give Durant really the options. Quarterback draw all the way.
And that block by Cates enough to get a first down, and Roughriders trying to keep their hands on it, not give it back before this half is done, protecting a 19-point lead.
Yeah, if the Winnipeg Blue Bombers don't get the 2-and-out, then it'll be again asked, why don't you try a field goal 47-yarder? Got to get the defensive stand to make that strategy work.
inching his way ahead to the 45-yard line. Good run by Wes Cates. 24 on that romp.
Now with that play from Wes Cates, Chris, it really gives the Saskatchewan Roughriders an opportunity here to sort of change their offensive mindset. Rather than just killing the half with some running plays now, they can go ahead and get more aggressive. They're right around midfield and try and come away with more points.
Wes Cates doing it on the ground with 61. He's got a couple of catches, a pair of touchdowns. Roughriders at the 45, first down, and he has some time, but throws that away. And not wanting to make a mistake now with this game in control.
I think Wes Cates is back. He really is. You know, early in the season, his numbers were down a little bit, and there was a little concern as to whether or not the injuries to Wes Cates were going to affect him throughout this entire season. But last week he really got started. He got that good mix going, both running and receiving the football. You saw the power, you saw the jump in the step, you saw the quickness. We're seeing a lot of it again this afternoon again.
And doing it against a defense that's been ranked among the best in the league in the first half of the CFL season. 2nd and 10. Guard pulls, beats, makes the ground miss. And then he's wrapped and driven back. Sadiq Shabazz with the tackle.
You know, and I know one thing that Mike Kelly will probably hear, and the questions will come this week, depending on what the result is here, is with Ian Logan back in the lineup at safety. They were excited about the opportunity of moving Sadiq Shabazz back to linebacker and moving Joe Lobendon into the middle. That left Baron Simpson on the outside looking in, who has since asked to be traded because of it. A controversial move in some ways. Baron Simpson does have a bit of a turf toe, but Mark Nelson felt they wanted to see what Joe Lobendon could do and try and give Baron Simpson some time to rest up. Simpson didn't like that. That saga continues, but Lobendon is a little bit behind here in this first half in some of these plays.
Simpson's second in the league in tackles, but just 7. Yes, they'll have to redo the kick. Just 7 in the last 3 weeks, which makes you wonder, is it because of the turf toe? Is it because he's not happy? Because of the way they've changed
Time count violation.
the packages for both?
A 10-yard penalty. Remains 3rd down.
Yeah, and you know, Joe Lobendon was playing in a different position in that linebacking core, was playing well. He will be a great middle linebacker. Don't get me wrong. I'm real high on Joe Lobendon. I think he's one of the stars on defense in the entire league. He comes with an attitude, and he's one of the toughest hitting linebackers, hardest hitting guys in the CFL. But he is less experienced in a big way than Baron Simpson, and he just seems a little out of sync so far in this game.
10 yards back, so the Bombers might improve their field position here as Johnson picks it up and takes it to the 35-yard line. Tackled by Stu Ford, 44 on the kick, a 9 for the return. And Manny Matsakis of the Bombers have 41 seconds to put a better face on this first half.
Yeah, and I'm a little surprised that we didn't see more run. And I know this is a learning curve and a process. You know, the two coaches know each other for about 20 years, but this is the first time that Matsakis has been in the Canadian Football League this year. And when he talked to Mike Kelly and congratulating him on getting the head coaching job, Kelly said, well, why don't you come as a guest coach? And that turned into a full-time job. And now it's into Matsakis actually calling plays. And when I said surprised they didn't go with their strength early in the first quarter. And that is to run Fred Reed, to run Vincent Bernard, and run them in combinations and try and get the ball in 32's hands as much as you can. Because everything else is a little bit easier when you have a running game established. Just ask the BC Lions when Fred Reed ran for 260 yards. But we didn't see that early on. Now they're in a bit of a hole, down 26-7.
They've only had one game this year where they've run for over 100 yards as a team and passed for over 200, just once in the first 9 weeks, and that actually came in the loss against Calgary. Mike Kelly's looking for balance and as yet really has not found it in this Bomber offense. Aaron Wagner shaken up on that last punt cover.
When you look at the first 9 games for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, almost 50-50 pass and run, and that's pretty much unheard of in the Canadian Football League, a passing league. see the average when they did run the ball at 6.3 yards. I mean, that's outstanding. You can get yourself in second and short.
They'd be the only team with better average rushing the football than passing, and Mike Kelly has said they got to get the average pass up to at least 8 yards a game.
Yeah, and you know, yes, Saskatchewan loaded up the box, and the box, folks who don't know, is right at the line of scrimmage, about 3-4 yards, 5 yards deep, and then across the line of scrimmage. And they wanted Saskatchewan's defense going to load that area up and try and talk Mike Kelly out of running. I understand that, and Mike Kelly wants to sort of take the next step, which is take advantage of it, throwing the ball behind that. But when your strength is running the ball, you know, I say, hey, go ahead and slam it up in there and see if you can't run the ball and see if you make the Saskatchewan Roughriders. I guess what I'm saying is take it away. And they didn't really do that. They just stopped running it early on.
Well, Wagner heads to the dressing room. Further treatment with 41 seconds left. First half. Bombers first down at the 35. McCullough on the blitz, and Fred Reed's going to run. Flag down. And Reed caught from behind by Keith Shulligan, close to a first down, but let's find out what the marker is all about. It's offside, and Mike McCullough, who was blitzing, might have jumped the gun, and the Fred Reed carry will stand.
But more than anything in this half for Mike Kelly, and I'm sure he'll address it at halftime, is the turnover.
Offside, Saskatchewan number 90. That penalty is declined. First down.
Well, Stevie Baggs gets called.
Stevie Baggs really trying to make something happen here this afternoon. He did not have a stat in the Labor Day game. He played quite well. He graded out well, but he did not have a stat in the books. And I asked him about it. He said, you know, I did my responsibility. And he said, my worst critic was my mom.
Defensive player of the month of August. Here's Reed again. He'll step out, stop the clock at the 49.
Yeah, he said that right after the game on Sunday, Labor Day weekend, Stevie Baggs got the call from home, and she watches every game. And Lola said, Stevie, you've got to stop chicken fighting with everybody and stop chicken fighting and start getting yourself up the field. So he says, when Lola talks, I listen. So he's had a couple of times in that backfield in this game.
Lola got spoiled because the week before he had 10 tackles. It's not going to happen every week. Second down. Bishop for Brock Ralph, incomplete. And it's third down, and the Bombers unable to close the gap with their final possession here of the opening half.
An opportunity here if they are going to punt the football now. They have to, and they'll get Saskatchewan a chance to kind of load it up if they want, or set up try and get a big return here from Jason Armstead.
And Armstead, he'll step out. A dozen seconds remaining for the Roughriders to burn off the clock here in this first half. And it's been a good one for Saskatchewan, and Darian Durant continues his upward momentum this season.
Boy, you just have to admire his development as a quarterback. You look at the top three, Anthony Calvillo, Ricky Ray, and Henry Burris, and who would be your next one? And, you know, you could make an argument for Darian Durant. Even though he has limited experience, he just seems to get better every game. This is a real workmanlike good first half for Durant.
No, those numbers aren't off the charts, but I think it's mistake-free, and that's been the key here. He's playing the score right now, and Ken Miller said last week those numbers could have been a lot better for Darian Durant, but for a couple of drops that shouldn't have been, and also in the fourth quarter, he was playing the score and just not playing for stats. Otherwise, it would have been an off-the-charts performance on Labor Day. And he puts a knee down and
contributing on the run too. He's run the ball well also.
Has a touchdown run. Ken Miller and the Roughriders have a 19-point lead at the half.
Live at the half is brought to you by Rona, proud sponsor of the CFL. Rona, doing it right since 1939.
Hello, hello. Dave, Jock, Matt, and Chris. All four of us feeling immense pressure after Cuthbert called this the best football panel on television. Yeah. Do not blow this. But let's try to raise our game up, to try to begin to live up to what Cuthbert was talking about. So, you know, here we are. The Toronto Argonauts win on Friday night. So the Bombers going into this game know they've been caught from behind in the East by a team that may be picking up some steam. They're at home. It's a sellout for the Banjo Bowl. Need we say more? 4 turnovers in the first half. That is now 10 turnovers in the last 8 quarters, leading directly to 31 points. But fear not, Bomber fans, because Jock here, Jock is going to tell you that the Bombers really aren't playing that poorly.
I didn't say that.
You did too.
That's not what I said,
You
David.
said it.
Tell them what
in
you
the
told us
commercial.
off
That's
camera.
what you said.
I said they're working hard.
They're trying
They're
hard.
trying hard.
They're trying.
And that's important. You know, they deserve their oranges at halftime, I think, because those guys are out there flying around and trying to give Mike Kelly something to be proud of them for. The problem has been the turnovers, as we'll see. But you know what? I saw some big hits. I saw a sense of urgency. In fact, there were back-to-back plays where they simply flat out knocked helmets off the Green Riders. And here you see Walls coming off the edge, and he's looking to punish Dresser. It's not just enough to push him out of bounds. But listen, if you're going to give up 4 turnovers in one half of football, you will not be in any game you play in the CFL. 2 fumbles, 1 interception, of course, the unfortunate failed fake on the punt. That's the story of the game, but they are working very hard.
Well, the guy for the Saskatchewan Roughriders that does deserve some oranges at halftime is Darian Durant. This is the second game. He's been pretty impressive. Coming off that bye week, playing last week on Sunday, I thought he was the reason that the Riders played so well. But now I think it's the receivers. The receivers are supporting the quarterback extremely well. First, watch Weston Dressler here. Catch, secure, hit, tackle. Nice job. Then here, Jerron Walker. This is making extra yards once you get the football in your hand. Good job. Weston Dressler, you watch him right here. Look at the move he just does right there. Slaps the defender by. Positive yards, first down. And then Wes Cates, who I think is having a great game, a physical game. This is a tough catch for a big guy. Throws the football nice and low, turns around, gets it upfield. Darian Durant's playing pretty good. Now, on the opposite side, you look at Michael Bishop, and not so much.
Yeah, Schultz, you know, and to me, that's, you know, obviously where the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are struggling the most at that position at quarterback. And they looking for Michael Bishop for some help. And sometimes you get it and sometimes you don't. With Michael Bishop, it's good and it's bad. Sometimes it's like comparing apples to oranges. And here, this is an outstanding play. This is what entices you to a guy with this ability. That's a 96-mile-an-hour heater. And then, like the next play, he rolls to his right, stops, and makes a high school mistake by throwing the ball across his body into traffic, and Sean Lucas comes up with a pick. Now here, if you take another look at it, you see Romby Bryant stop and not work back to the football. So, Schultz, you talked about receivers helping out the quarterback. Romby Bryant, on this season, you would think that he would work back to that football. Only coming to this game with 16 receptions. You'd think he'd be hungry for the football, trying to make things happen. But Bishop, you can't compound a mistake with another mistake, and to me that was just obviously the poor execution getting in their way in the first half.
That's fundamentals. When your quarterback is rolling out to the right and you have the backside drag, you do not stop.
First of all, a quarterback should never throw across his body in that situation.
You're right.
But you're looking for help by your receivers.
But if Brian had kept going, he wouldn't have had to throw it back across the field.
Schultz, did you ever wear a wristband with plays on it? Never?
Not even. Would you have liked to?
I would have liked to, because it
would you have known what any of it meant?
I know what I'm doing.
Did you ever get oranges at halftime?
Yes, all the time.
I think Chris is right. This is the best football panel on this network. 26-7.
This is the whole Labor Day and then rematch rivalry getting started.
They take the reverse, and it's Wes Cates with the catch and the touchdown. Here comes the draw. This time opens up for Reed. Touchdown, Bombers.
Welcome back. Here are your halftime numbers, brought to you by Tim Hortons, always fresh.
Dave, check this out. Let's follow the football. 4 turnovers, 18 points off turnovers. Go right back up here. You go 18 plus 7 is 25 plus a single. That's 26 points. Difference in the ball game. Hello.
Yeah, I wonder what Mike Kelly is saying to the Chargers. Let's see what Ken Miller had to say to our Sean Churchill.
Coach, your defense gave you 4 turnovers in that first half. Is there any more you could ask for?
Well, we shouldn't have given up the long touchdown run, but we have to play hard this second half. There's 30 minutes to play. We want to play with great intensity.
Your quarterback, Darian Durant, is looking very poised in there. Are you happy with the progress?
Well, he's poised and doing well. He's able to make some throws there. They got us in a position to score there when we got turnovers, so that's a good thing.
Thank you very much. Good luck.
Thank you.
Earlier today, game one of our Week 11 Sunday afternoon, a doubleheader saw BC and Montreal, a rematch from last Friday night, went down to the wire. And Corey Warren's here with some SportsCenter highlights. Hey, Corey.
Hey, Dave. Now, you might remember last Friday night, the CFL admitted that officials blew a call last week that cost the Alouettes a win against the Lions. Well, today, a chance for revenge for Montreal. Just over a minute left in this seesaw battle. Owls trailing by 3. Avon Coburn turning the corner, finding the end zone. The Owls win 28-24. They go to a CFL best 8-2. Brett Favre at his Vikings debut, the third quarter, finds rookie Percy Harvin for the touchdown. Favre threw for 110 yards. Adrian Peterson went off for 180 yards. Vikes win 34-20. And happening right now on TSN2, Roger Federer taking on Novak Djokovic in the semis at the U.S. Open. Federer won the first set in a tiebreak. The winner will face Martin Del Potro in the final. And we've got lots coming up on Sports at 11:30 Eastern. How about this? Can the script be better for Michael Vick? Donovan McNabb fractures a rib in Game 1. His status is uncertain. More details on SportsCenter.
TSN is the exclusive broadcaster of the Banjo Bowl and proud home of the 2009 Grey Cup. And here in Winnipeg, 26-7 at the half for the Roughriders. Sean Churchill standing by with Bomber coach Mike Kelly.
Mike, last week turnovers hurt you. Today they're hurting you. What did you say to the team at halftime?
That at worst the score right now should be 9-7. We've given up 3 turnovers that resulted in 17 points for them, and we just got to take care of the football. We cannot afford to keep doing what we're doing and being sloppy that way.
Can we expect more run?
Right now, we got to do what we have to do. I don't know if it's going to be more run, more pass, but let's hang on to it, whatever we're doing.
Thank you very much.
Right.
Yeah, it really was a difference for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in that first half when they were sloppy with the ball. Again, there's forced fumbles, there's forced turnovers or takeaways, or then there's just sloppy, and that's what the Bombers were in the first half, and that's what Mike Kelly talked about at halftime.
Roughriders get the ball in the wing to start the third quarter as Cerna sends it downfield. Armstead from his 16. And Armstead still on his feet. And a lot of running. Not much on the result as Sadiq Shabazz finally brings him down.
Well, Michael Bishop, when you look at the play of the quarterbacks, had 3 interceptions on the Labor Day weekend. The interception's not the big problem here. He has 1, but the fumbles are what Mike Kelly was really talking about. And a real workmanlike first half from Darian Durant. 11 of 22, right at 50%. The numbers don't jump off the page, but he has protected the ball well. No mistakes. And when his defense has created the turnover, he's got those turnovers, he's put points on the board.
Shows the play fake to Cates. And then fires to Dressler. That's that with the first contact, has a first down up at the 42-yard line.
Just like the way he's controlling the game, managing the game, uses his legs. This was a little drop pass to Wes Cates. But when the Riders have turned the ball over, he's gone to the jugular and attacked. He's got a running touchdown himself. He's involved the running game. Good balance in the offense. And like we mentioned, no mistakes in the interception department.
Roughriders had been a big pass play team this year. Haven't been as much lately. Trying for one here. The Rob Bag has got it on cue to the 25. It's a little Queens ESP. I was going to say 21 was the longest last week. They had a 30-yarder in the first half to Fantus. But Rob Bag just has the biggest play of the game, 42 yards from Darian Durant.
Well, and you're going to see Chris Getzlaff get a little bit too close to Rob Bag and pull coverage over there. He's lucky that didn't cause a problem, but the concentration by Bag as he catches that one on Keogh Craver right down the sideline, which was, he was in pretty good position, pretty good coverage, but didn't matter.
Fantus in motion, hits the line at full speed. Durant avoids the safety blitz and throws it away as Ian Logan put on some heat.
Well, this is the decision process I'm talking about with Darian Durant, as he had an open Andy Fantuz down the field. You talked about him hitting the line in motion. He was actually in behind coverage, but because of the blitz that came here, you get the blitz coming from the safety, and Darian Durant gets flushed away from the play side, away from Andy Fantuz. So now when he's up there on his edge, he doesn't really have that target anymore, and he wisely throws it away.
Well, you've really seen a number of examples of him being dialed in and not making a mistake, forcing the issue. There's one that's delivered high, incomplete, intended for Dressler.
Yeah, you know, some people talk about his completion percentage, and even the coaching staff at times have said they'd like to see that completion percentage come up a little bit more, you know, and you'd like to see that. But having said that, in a play that's broken down because of the safety blitz from Ian Logan, would you rather your quarterback eat it, take the sack, try and force it, maybe get it intercepted, or throw it away like Darian Durant did, and it turns into a Luka Kanji field goal attempt? And in that case, completion percentage doesn't matter because it's the right decision.
Kanji looking for his second field goal of the game. Kim Murphy's crew wants to make sure it's on the right spot.
Timer. Please put 6 seconds on the 20-second clock. Timer countdown. The 20-second clock to 6 seconds.
So Kim Murphy wants it reset, and they'll count it down, and
we don't want any time clock issues.
No. There we go. From 33 yards up. And Kim Murphy can't freeze Luka Kanji. Closed captioning of the CFL on TSN is brought to you by Sport Check. Sport Check, the power of sport. The Saskatchewan Roughriders have won just 3 of 19 visits to Canadians since 1991, but they own a 22-point lead here early in the third quarter. Javon Johnson fought the sun a bit and the football, but he's got a return up close to the 40-yard line.
Michael Bishop has had a lot of heat on him in this first half from the Rider defense, who have loaded up the line of scrimmage first and foremost to take away the run by Fred Reed, but they have provided some pressure on Bishop for some of the errors, for some of the mistakes that he's made, like that interception there. But he has been under pressure. And the one thing that Bishop hasn't done that he did in the 10 games he played in Saskatchewan last year is really run with the football. We haven't seen any quarterback draw from him. Anytime he gets out on the edge, he hasn't taken off and run with it. On a roll here. One pump. And now gets it away downfield, and that's into the Bomber bench with Stevie Beggs trying to impress Mumlola there with the heat from the backside. And those hits start to add up, and those hurries start to add up on a quarterback. And you know, Michael Bishop in his career when he was in Toronto was always a run threat. He was sort of like a Darian Durant or a Kerry Joseph style quarterback where you knew that they could take off and run. He's a strong runner, but Labor Day weekend last week, he didn't run one time. And his average in the 5 starts for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers is just 2.4 rushes per game.
2nd and 10. Right here for Edwards. Edwards can't beat 3 to the first down stick. He's out at the 44 after his 2nd catch of the game. So 2 and out, first possession of the 3rd quarter when the Bombers need a spark. First half of the season, 6 times 20 points or less. And for Mike Kelly's crew, 5 times under 15 points.
Well, what saved them and what's really helped them to just generate at least the 3 wins so far has been the play of their defense. It's been on the field a ton this year, and also that turnover ratio that they've often run, but aren't winning here this afternoon.
fellas, put your hands!
Short punt taken on the run. That'll be a 1 yards and a big return for Armstead, who is pushed out at the Rough Rider bench, and likely they'll decline the no yards on that good Armstead return. For every sack in today's game, Purolator donates the quarterback's weight in food to a local food bank. Purolator, where business is going, and the Rough Riders back in a tie with BC with a pair here so far in this game.
Yeah, John Chick has one of them. He has now 8 on the season, and you combine that with Stevie Baggs. That's 15 sacks between the two of them at 27 total.
John Lucas the other. Here's Cates with a good run off the right side, and a first down run for Wes Cates. Brought down by Dorian Smith.
A lot of movement from that offensive line for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. This time it's going to be Jeremy O'Day, the center, who's going to pull outside and get that lead block as he comes around the edge, leads it up in the hole for Wes Cates. He really collapses Sadiq Shabazz, an undersized linebacker, in the hole, and then Cates just runs right off of his block.
Chains out to measure, and it'll be second down.
We've seen some nice pulling blocks where, whether it be Joe Bell, the tackle, or Jeremy O'Day, Gene Mikowski, where those offensive linemen get on their horse, they peel out of there, and then they're the lead blocker through the hole. And the defender then has to step up and try and create a pile and hope that the running back sort of hesitates because he sees that pile. That time Jeremy O'Day really collapsed Sadiq Shabazz in the hole, and Cates had a running lane.
The great front seven in Winnipeg's been pretty quiet. Doug Brown has not been a huge factor yet. See what the Rough Riders do on second and inches. Headed straight ahead, and Cates will have the first down. To the Bombers' 35. Good back-to-back performances for Wes Cates against the Bombers.
Really like Wes Cates' vision in the hole. When he takes the ball on plays like this, he'll hesitate for a second, and then right here in the hole, now that's where the play is designed. He's got his eyes up the field, and he ends up cutting back here. So he's got that tremendous vision to see and take advantage of momentum from the defenders.
First and 10. 6 receivers out. Durant is in trouble. Just got it away and finds Cates. The safety valve with a catch in front of Lenny Walls at the 28.
Dorian Smith is in chase from behind on Darian Durant. Somehow Durant feels the pressure coming from that backside and throws it just in time. And then Dorian Smith is going to show some frustration. This defense is out on the field a long time here in this hot afternoon. Number 90 gets to him, but just a little bit late, and then he got up stomping. Upset that he didn't get there a little bit earlier, but they've got to be starting to get tired out there on defense.
7 for Cates, second and 3. And 5th to Cates. Sarka was open, they want more. Downfield. Intended for Rob Bagg, incomplete.
Make a good point there, Chris. Zarka was open, and this is the type of play that Darian Durant has run a lot better over the last 2 or 3 weeks to take Chris Zarka. Drop it off, and that time he did, and I'm sure he'll go back and look at this film and he'll say, well, you know, if I take Zarka right out here in the flat, he turns and runs, he's got tons of room, but he got a little bit greedy and he goes down the field to Rob Bagg. This is something that he looked at in the bye and said, you know what, I've got to be patient and take those underneath ones, and he'll probably say the same thing when he watches that back.
Instead, they'll settle for a 35-yard attempt. And a whistle before that ball is kicked.
Time count violation. Saskatchewan, number 6. 5-yard penalty. Remains third down.
So they don't get the play off, and they have to try it from the 40 instead.
The Riders still have the wind at their backs. This shouldn't be too much of a problem for Luka Kanji, although every time I say that about a kicker, I jinx them.
It's interesting that they now kick from 5 yards further back, and they have a completely different complement on the field.
And they have Tad Cornegay in there onside.
Yes, Cornegay is onside. But Lukakanji makes it with ease as the lead expands here in Winnipeg. Wendy's Kick for $1 million back. You have a chance to be one of 4 to go head-to-head to qualify for the live halftime show. Enter at tsn.ca/Wendy's and upsize your Wendy's combo and get a game card to get bonus entries.
And you get, if you miss a kick, you still get a chance at the other prizes. You keep the ball. If you make the 20-yarder, but not the 40-yarder, you get that prize. So that's why there's millions signing up for it.
Vaughn Johnson, Daniel Francis down first contact, and Johnson still running. And he'll be one of the most popular Bombers when this game is done. He's had a decent afternoon on one that there's probably a short list of Winnipeg Bombers in that category. Well, you've been calling for Casey somewhere, and the Bombers heard you, and they've got Casey Bramlett.
Well, it was not that Casey, but okay. Casey Bramlett from Wyoming State. He's signed. Stephon LaForce is gone for the season. He'll be put on the 9-game injured list and get it just after getting his MRI completed. So Bramlett is the 3rd-string quarterback behind Brian Randall.
Cincinnati Bengal draft choice. Bishop going deep. He's looking for Bowman. Incomplete. Tracking him was the young corner Donovan Alexander.
So you got Bramlett dressed for his very first game. By the way, he was coached way back by Manny Matsakis. So there's a little bit of a relationship there. He was also a teammate of Brock Ralph's, but way too early to be an option for Mike Kelly here in this game this evening. So his really only other option if he wanted to make a change is to go to Brian Randall, and I'm not sure they're comfortable there either. So it's sort of live or die by Michael Bishop.
Randall hasn't played since week 3. 2nd and 10. Pitch to Brock Ralph, and he's tripped up by Omar Morgan. First catch for Brock Ralph. We showed you on Friday night that he had the exact same numbers as his brother through 9 games. He needed 3 catches for 84 to keep that intact, so he's 80 behind after that 4-yard gain.
And it's a long way away before he gets probably on the field with Casey Bramlett, his former college teammate. Bishop just got booed off the field in a big way.
There's Armstead trying to get outside, and then cuts it back. He might have something here. Oh, hit by Hefty. And down goes Armstead at the 50-yard line. Well, there's no quarterback controversy in Saskatchewan. Ken Miller likes what he's got calling signals.
Darian is making great strides as a quarterback. You know, against Montreal 3 weeks ago, he threw the ball long and deep and threw for a lot of yards. In this last outing last week, we had a ball control, more of a ball control passing game, and he executed that well. So I really think that he is developing right on schedule. I think as we go through this season, certainly there will be some ups and downs, but more ups than downs and a consistent improvement.
Definitely on an up curve right now. Darian Durant back to work. Calling signals, rolling, and now dumps it off. And Duron Walker is taken down. Lenny Walls with the forearm tackle, but a first down for Saskatchewan at the Bomber 45.
At the beginning of the season, I think Ken Miller was a little unsure as to who would emerge as the starting quarterback in Saskatchewan, whether it be Stephen Giles or Darian Durant. But every game out, Darian Durant starts to establish himself as the starter, and he just continues to improve. There's an example of how he can extend the play with his legs. He showed good patience to get outside and wait for Duron Walker to open up.
15 that time. Roughriders doing something that a lot of teams haven't done, and that's take the time to develop. Homegrown quarterback, and Duron Walker with another catch.
But to me, it's a couple of things for Darian Durant. It's the decision-making process that he's improved dramatically. It's his leadership. It's those intangibles that I like best about this guy. It's the staying in the bye week. It's the way he studies and self-scouts, and it's the way when things don't go well, he'll take full blame for them. That's what good quarterbacks and good leaders do.
7 on that catch by Walker, 2nd and 3. Pressure, steps up, surrounded, gets away, and has a first down. That's pretty good stuff right there. Escapability and mobility of Darian Durant.
Yeah, let's add that to the list. And, you know, fans say, well, what about those games? What about the half where he has his interceptions? Because coming into this one, he had thrown 12. Well, that's going to happen with a young quarterback. I keep reminding fans with some of the young quarterbacks, and not just Durant in the CFL, but there are a few young quarterbacks trying to find their ways, that they're going to have games like that. They're going to have ups and downs. Remember guys like Jeff Garcia, Danny McManus, Damon Allen, even Matt Dunnigan played behind good quarterbacks for years before they got their opportunities.
3 carries, 24 yards. Here's the reverse, and now Armstead's going to throw it downfield for Fantuz. Jump ball, and Fantuz got it. He got it, and it's a touchdown. Have we seen anything better than that this season?
Little razzle-dazzle from the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Jason Armstead, 1-for-1 passing and 1 touchdown because Andy Fantuz won the battle at the end of this play. Goes to Weston Dressler. Little pitch, and you could see when Armstead was trying to gain some depth there, and he puts a nice spiral on this over the top, and look at that, double covered. Fantuz comes down with it.
Took it away from Hefney, and apparently broke the plane. And Kanji adds the extra point. One of the most spectacular touchdown of the day as the lead builds. Second touchdown pass of his career. Threw one to Kerry Joseph in 2006.
Gets out there, he lines up as a wide receiver. He gains some depth here. Nice spiral, nice tight spiral on that football. But the play is made at the other end. And that's Andy Fantuz winning the jump between 2 players and coming down with it. Ian Logan, one of them, the safety.
Yeah, I got you. Ziadella, I know you're watching. You've been waiting a long time to see me play, so that one's for you. Keep watching.
Second touchdown of the season for Andy Fantuz. His first was back in late July. Devon Johnson. Another good return up across the 40, and that'll set things up for
this man right here. Tag team here.
Brian Randall, I believe, another quarterback.
Yeah, and Mike Kelly, as I just mentioned, I know he wasn't real comfortable with Brian Randall, but it's desperation time, I think, here in Winnipeg, because the last 2 series, Michael Bishop has just been booed off the field, so now it looks like Kelly is desperate to see some production out of his offense, and he's going to go with Brian Randall.
Couple of appearances this year. Again, if you missed it, Stephon LaFour's an MRI this week, and he'll be gone for the rest of the year. Injured shoulder, non-throwing arm, but actually on a hit very early in the season on that big collision with Otis Floyd that never was right afterwards. So it's Brian Randall with a chance to impress the coach. One of 8. You mentioned Casey Bramlett. Bramlett, the 8th different quarterback who has been in Winnipeg since the start of training camp.
This has been obviously a real issue for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers when you think of those 8 that have gone through in just 9 games. The 8th being Bramlett, but coming into training camp, Mike Kelly, really hooked his wagon to Stephon LaFour's, which didn't work out. He had Randall there. Ryan Dinwiddie, remember, played in the Grey Cup game in 2007. James Killian and Daryl Hackney, they were all released. Richie Williams came in. He was cut. And then Michael Bishop arrived just prior to Casey Bramlett. And they tried out Casey Printers through that process and decided not to invite him.
Randall heavy pressure, that ball batted the air, and it is intercepted. Ted Cornegay has throws his third interception in 2 games against Winnipeg as they sent the house against the newcomer, Brian Randall.
Well, this is exactly what they do. Tremendous pressure to see if the young quarterback can handle it. He doesn't. He should have ate that one out right there, taken the sack, taken the loss. He didn't even really have time to throw this football away. And this is why Kelly has been uncomfortable with Brian Randall. He doesn't really believe, I don't think, that he's ready. But he is desperate to see something happen. He just didn't want to see that happen.
John Lucas has had a huge game at linebacker for the Roughriders. He got to the quarterback there, setting it up for Cornegay. Stu Ford, the Tom collegiate product in Regina with a 10-yard run, and I can hear them stewing here, and they're booing too.
Yeah, let's go back to that big offensive play and touchdown. Jason Armstead on the double reverse here. Goes to Weston Dressler, back to Armstead. Not only is this a tremendous play and a touchdown throw, Andy Fantuz with a tremendous catch in the end zone, but it also now will cause teams for the rest of the year to spend practice time preparing for that kind of play. When you have success one time at it, now you've got to spend defensively about 5-10 minutes of practice making sure you're ready for something like that from Saskatchewan. So I love to see it.
Last week we saw Weston Dressler in a similar formation trying to throw the football. That must be Armstead's range. He threw a 34-yarder to Kerry Joseph for a touchdown 3 years ago, and that play covered 34.
It was a nice spiral and well-executed play, but it was made by Andy Fantuz. And he was double covered down there and just like ripping down a basketball rebound. He won the jump.
2nd and inches. Thunderstep, great run. Inside the 15 for Stu Ford. $19 on the carry.
Offensive line just dialing it in right now for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. That right side, Mark Parenteau and Joel Bell just collapsed the left side of the defensive line. Stu Ford read that perfectly, bounced to the right. Lots of running room.
Big boys getting it done. This time they fake to Ford, and then shuttle it back to Stu Ford. We got a little dust up here as Shabazz, and he gets dropped as the tempers flare and the flags fly.
Yeah, he was swinging at Chris Best, who was on the ground. Not sure what happened at the bottom of that pile, but Best, of course, had his teammates come to his defense. The fans not the only ones frustrated.
Yep, 32-point deficit against your arch rivals, and tempers are going to flare. Shabazz, who was the dominant defensive player in the league in the first month of the year, got nicked, then changed positions, and hasn't been as huge a factor since.
No, when he was at safety, he was basically had 4 tackles back there in 2 games. He had 2 tackles per game in those games. 5 games at linebacker, 3 interceptions, 2 fumble recoveries, a forced fumble, and was averaging 5 tackles per game. And that's why they wanted to get him down in the linebacking core again. But to do that, they had to take Barron Simpson out. So that's caused some drama here in Winnipeg. And I'm not sure that it's been Joe Lobendon's best game. I mean,
major foul, rough play, disqualification, Winnipeg number 58. Unnecessary roughness, Saskatchewan number 57.
So Joe Lobendon stays done.
Balanced at the end of the play.
He will take the long walk to the showers, and I know Shabazz was involved in that.
I think he came in at the bottom or at the back end of that little skirmish in support of Shabazz.
There's Shabazz with Best.
Lobendon took one of the Roughriders over the pile, and then Lobendon back into it there. So Something happened at the tail end of the skirmish that was enough for ejection.
And Baron Simpson not dressed for this one. You might want to tune into the Mike Kelly call-in show this week.
Yeah, although he doesn't take calls anymore.
That's true. You can't call in, but you can listen.
Fans are frustrated. A lot of people thought it would turn around here when they got back home for an extended part of the second half. 6 of 9. Rick Campbell's defense has been stout most of the season, but not today, and it's been a long afternoon, maybe the longest for the Bombers this season.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, this has just been, and to do it at home also hurts. It really just magnifies the problem.
You want to magnify it when it's the green and white on the other sideline.
Yeah, and you know, and this is a game traditionally that the Bombers have been dominant in.
Only the 4th Saskatchewan win in the last 20 visits. So 1st and goal. Back to Ford, and nothing doing there. Brought down immediately by Michael Landry.
This time a little penetration first up front by Doug Brown, and then Landry steps into the hole.
Looks like Neil McKinley has taken Lobendon's spot at middle linebacker. Second and goal. Durant looked one way, now dumps it off. Catch made. Ford up to get tackled down at the 3, as again Landry there, flag down, roughing the passer, and that'll keep it alive for Saskatchewan.
Yeah, and I think Darian Durant just lost the handle a little bit. He saw Ford open at the last second.
Major foul, roughing the passer, hit to the head, number 42, Winnipeg. Half the distance to the goal, first down.
And that is Neil McKinley.
And this keeps piling on for Mike Kelly's Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Durant saw Ford here, and he was trying to get the ball out of the holster. He had it locked in there, and then he tried to get it out, fumbled a little with it. Finally did give it to Ford, but he couldn't get up. He didn't have time to get up, and there's the late hit. Sadiq Shabazz, it looked like.
Not sure that did look like a headshot, but it is a first down at the 2-yard line. Dressler was open, and the ball batted down on a nice defensive play by Gavin Walls.
Yes, it was, and not because it was not only a knockdown, but he had to move to it. I mean, Walls didn't just put his hands up and the ball hit his hand. He actually batted that one out of the air because this is a touchdown throw. Walls is right over here just to the left of your screen, and it's a touchdown throw if he doesn't make this reaction. Up and then brings that left hand down and knocks it out of the air.
Dressler had the clinching touchdown last week. Second down, looking for Van Toos. He can't locate it soon enough with Hefney in his hip pocket.
Kent Miller will take the short field goal here.
So a stand for the Bombers without middle linebacker Joe Lobendon. And Luka Kanji back on. He has not had a great year. And before the game, Ken Miller mentioned that we just got to get him busier and get him locked in. And he has been so far in this game.
71% coming into the game.
For a guy who had a great percentage a year ago. Yeah. Lowest this season coming into this game, but he's improved it 4 for 4. As the Roughriders up their lead to 42-7. Well, Wednesday night, TSN2 brings you exclusive NHL preseason action with an original 6 matchup as the Bruins visit Toronto. Take on the Maple Leafs. Live coverage begins at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, and it's available exclusively on TSN2. And let me use, because we're talking about 8 quarterbacks in Winnipeg so far this year, let me use an old hockey saying about goaltenders. If you got 3, it means you don't have 1. And if you've had 8, it means you don't have 1
Yeah,
yet.
you're right. And that's the problem for the Bombers right now. They just don't get the play out of the quarterback position that they need. So that just dwarfs the passing game. They can't get that going. And then they decided tonight, based on the Rough Rider defense and what was presented there, that they weren't going to run, that they'd go away from it. Fred Reed has just 7 carries tonight.
35-yard touchdown run, tied it at 7. And since then, 35 unanswered Rough Rider points. Here's Hefty. Hefty up just short of the 35-yard line. And Brian Randall goes out for his second play. The first one didn't go well.
First one resulted in him getting hit and the ball bouncing up into the hands of Tad Cornegate. And one of the other things that Mike Kelly's been asked about a ton is at the beginning of the year, he said that he was going to have his quarterbacks up and under the center primarily, and that he felt that that was the way to do it. He's really gone away from that strategy. You see that time of possession difference.
The ball batted down.
You heard Mark Trestman before for the Montreal Alouettes, and I've heard coaches a lot of different times talk about it, is that your quarterback, more than anything, has to give your team hope. And right now, that's an issue for the Bombers.
Time of possession's been an issue. We just showed the third quarter last week, 37 minutes plus for the Rough Riders. 2nd and 10. More pressure. Randall downfield, and they got a completion. Nice catch made there by Robbie Bryant, who throws the ball in the air in frustration. First catch, just his 17th on the season.
Well, the one thing that Brian Randall has to know is that Saskatchewan is going to send pressure. They're going to try and blitz him and see if he can handle it. He finally escapes there, but barely. James Patrick was in pursuit of the safety. Does get the play off, though, and Robbie Bryant comes up with a catch.
Second last play of the third quarter, and it's the first down of the second half for Winnipeg. Randall, and that one out of the reach of Terrence Edwards. And that is the final play of the third quarter. And the Banjos have been silenced. Saskatchewan in control. Third quarter stats brought to you by Tim Hortons. Always fresh, always.
Stats a little one-sided, but the number that jumps out and the biggest difference in this game is the turnovers and then the points off those turnovers, and that's really been the difference. Saskatchewan's played a very good football game.
You know, the Bombers' problems well documented. It's almost a hostile environment right now here in Winnipeg, but this is also a very quickly improving Saskatchewan football team, isn't it?
Yeah, they look like they're poised to take a real run here. And you go back to the Montreal game in late August, was actually a loss, but Darian Durant really emerged as a starter there. He threw for over 300 yards in that game. And that's a game that they talk about in Saskatchewan, about the one that they really felt confident about heading into the second half of the season. Even though it was a loss, they learned a lot from it. And I think they are poised to take a run, Chris.
There's the very coveted Banjo Bowl trophy. Hargraves with a catch. His first of the game. Another Simon Fraser product.
Yes.
With a first down for the Bombers.
Simon Fraser product that went through that lull. Did not win a game in his time in Simon Fraser when they were struggling a little bit. And thank goodness that time is over.
41-7 against Manitoba for the 2-0 Klansmen. 10th ranked. Fans getting a good look at Brian Randall, who was highly touted. He was on the Bombers neck list for 4 years. People had him tabbed as the next one. Pass for Edwards sails high. And now he gets thrown into the fire to get some valuable reps.
Yeah, and the crowd, whenever they do complete a pass, a little bit sarcastic right now. Because this is one that stirs up a lot of passion in the fans. I mean, and now Brian Randall gets a chance to get some reps. But the fans are trying to find paper bags right now here in Winnipeg. And you know the 2,000 plus that made the trip from Regina, Saskatoon, Moose Jaw, and Saskatchewan, all those small towns, they're over here now. They're enjoying this one.
Well, in any league, you need a quarterback, but you probably need a good quarterback more in this league than anywhere else. And
yeah,
it's obviously been the point of concern since the start of the year.
Well, the other thing is, and I know Mike Kelly will hear about it over the next week or so, 2 weeks, is there have been a lot of distractions. I mean, when you look through the last few weeks, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, whether it be the discussions of Pac-Man Jones, Spygate a while ago near the beginning of the season, what happened to Derek Armstrong right out of the gate of the season, and now what's going on with Barron Simpson. I mean, people wondering, would that be distractions, or would the team be able to rally around some of those things and come together because of them? And now you've got to start to wonder if they have been distractions for this team.
Denate Hurd now at corner for the Roughriders as Randall steps up and flips it off, but Reed got by Stevie Banks, and then the posse arrives. Luke Mullender there to bring him down.
You know, but when things go bad, you really should, you got to look at and spread out the blame. I mean, it's not just the defense didn't play their best game tonight, but they've been worn out a little bit. They didn't see Fred Reed. We haven't seen a lot of carries from Fred Reed tonight, so you can put that one on the coaching staff and the play calling. Only 8 carries for Fred Reed in this football game. And then the quarterbacking, as you mentioned.
Mike Renault. And it's Armstead. And Armstead just across the 15, early fourth quarter in Winnipeg. NFL Monday Night Football returns tomorrow night on TSN. A doubleheader of action. Game 1, the Bills take on the Patriots. And in the second game, it's the Chargers and the Raiders. Live coverage 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific.
I got a question for you on that first one. How long does it take before Terrell Owens messes it up for Trent Edwards? How long? You think 3 games, 4 games? What's the over and under?
The over under? Early.
Yeah. The first time he doesn't get a pass thrown his way, the puck gets
on. And does that surprise you as another penalty marker is
Yeah,
thrown?
it does. You're right in that area.
Same with Wes Cates, too, for that matter.
Yeah, Wes Cates, Darian Durant for sure. You know, maybe even a Weston Dressler if it's deep enough over there. But they're right in that
Major
area.
foul, unnecessary roughness. Winnipeg number 20. A 15-yard penalty from the end of the play. Automatic first down.
See, and this stuff is going on too, so this is part of it, and this has got to be a consideration for Ken Miller, because you know the Bombers are frustrated. You know about the rivalry. They're going to play to the echo of the whistle now. They're going to start to do some things like that where Shabazz comes in. Now, if you get hit like that and you roll on the quarterback's knee and you lose him, you know, this is right in that area. And I say area because of the time. I mean, most coaches won't want to make the move until inside of 10 minutes, but that would almost be, this would probably be the last series for Darian Durant.
That one over the head of Rob Bagg at the Saskatchewan bench.
I think at this point in the game, you still have to run your offense. It's 12-28. You still have to run the regular offense, so you're going to continue to use the passing game, but you probably run on first down primarily.
But if they run a double reverse and have them throw off of it to the end zone again, it might start World War III.
It's just, man, I don't think Ken Miller will call that play. It worked well the first time.
2nd and 10. Here comes the pressure, and Durant got to get away. Picked off. Derek Dockett's got it. An interception. Looked like Durant tried to throw it away, and Doggett, hands were too good.
Why were they ever? He just stabbed that football. Durant was throwing it out of bounds. And he just didn't, but he was going to throw it out of bounds. He might as well throw it into row 4. Oh, you know what? Jerron Walker was in behind him. He was caught. He was lost from our eye line in the Bomber bench, and it looked like maybe Durant tried to get it to Walker. That's some kind of play by Derek Dockett.
And the Bombers sprinted out on the field. They tried to catch Saskatchewan.
See if he was
before
in
the
bounds.
defense had even arrived. And maybe to make sure that the interception stands. But play wasn't blown in, and the Bombers offense sprinted out there, and they tried to catch Saskatchewan without their defense being ready. So now they blow play in. And we're ready to go. There was another pass batted down at the line, and it falls incomplete. As Stevie Beggs has words with left tackle Steve Morley.
Morley came out after that play and put a little hit on Stevie Beggs that he didn't like. This is a point in the game when you have the big lead like Saskatchewan does. You want to make sure you're protecting yourself at all times, and you don't really stop playing or stop being prepared for a hit from any angle until the Bombers are back in the huddle almost.
Doesn't get any easier for Winnipeg. They're in Montreal next Sunday. Roughriders getting set for back-to-back against Edmonton. Reed and John Chick there. And what a home-and-home series John Chick has had against these Blue Bombers.
Boy, is he ever. It's not just these 2 games. It's the first 2 back. You put those 3-game totals together. He had 4 tackles, 2 sacks on Labor Day, and that added to his total. Fred Reed nowhere to go in the backfield. He's the hottest rush end right now in the CFL.
And Alexis Cerna gets sent on to try and end the 35 points run for Saskatchewan. And they're trying from 48 yards out. The wind is at their back. They elected not to try one in the second quarter. Into the wind from that distance. And plenty of leg. And the Bombers get 3. The CFL on TSN is brought to you in part by Rona, proud sponsor of the CFL. Rona, doing it right since 1939.
You mentioned the homestand that the Winnipeg Blue Bombers had, Chris. 6 of their last 9 here at home, and if they could have come out and played well and won this game, it was a run that they could really have started, get that home crowd excited, and this is just falling on your face like this at home really backfires on them. Now the Bombers worried about selling tickets.
Cerna kicks deep. Armstead from his 2. And the newcomer to the Bombers, Nick Kordick, downfield to get a special team tackle. Darian Durant's afternoon's done. As he takes off the pads, he'll watch Stephen Giles finish up.
Darian Durant is now 10-4 as the Saskatchewan Roughriders starter. With 11 minutes left in the game, I'm awarding the win to Saskatchewan.
I believe this is the earliest the decision desk has gone to work this year.
Stephen Giles gets a chance to go in and take some snaps.
With flags flying, Ford up close to the 25.
Major foul, face mask. Winnipeg, number 20. 15 yards from the end of the play, automatic first down.
Well, Sadiq Shabazz has been drawing a lot of cloth here in the second half. You can tell he is frustrated because I know a lot of the hype and moving him back to linebacker, the Bombers and their fans were pretty excited about that. They thought that this was going to be a move that really made a good defense even better. He's drawn a few penalties now for late hits and not a face mask.
Neil McKinley off and Pierre-Luc Labbé comes in at middle linebacker. Roughriders have had 4 straight first downs by penalty. Stu Ford churning for more. Stu Ford's been a productive guy when he gets the opportunity. He said he's had to work more on pass protection and that end of it, but it's a guy who's moved the ball and a spectacular game against the BC Lions.
Oh yeah, and for a guy who's 5'11", 195, under 200 pounds, he plays big. He is productive, and he's also, he's also can contribute on the teams whether it be kick return, punt return team. Pretty good there too.
2nd and 4. Giles downfield, and he has a receiver. Jerron Walker with a big gain, pulled down by the safety Ian Logan. Good rope thrown by Stephen Giles.
And I know Bomber fans are wondering about, is this rubbing it in to have Stephen Giles throwing it down the field like this? I don't think so at all. I think you get your backup quarterback in there. And there's the layered routes coming off the line of scrimmage with Walker coming across the middle. You get your backups in there and your backup quarterback, you want him to take some good reps and try and get better himself and run the offense.
Heard Ken Miller's comments about Darian Durant, and he usually adds to that he has full confidence in number 9. They're still developing him as well. Bounced off first contact. Game tackled at the 32.
That's a good point, Chris, because in my discussions with Ken Miller, he talked about both quarterbacks, Stephen Giles, and their development. Darian Durant told me that he thinks that we'll be watching Darian Durant and Stephen Giles for a long, long time in the CFL. I mean, he said, far beyond when I'm coaching, you're going to watch these two players that will establish themselves, continue to develop. You got to give full credit to Ken Miller for having the patience. He changed his philosophy this year from last a little bit too. Gave them a chance to go in there and learn from some mistakes and stay in there a little longer.
Swings it out, Wessler. Avoids the first hit and falls forward to the 25-yard line. He'll be a yard short of a first down.
And when you consider how Ken Miller was juggling quarterbacks a little bit last year, and in fairness to Ken Miller, I'm not so sure that the decision to bring Michael Bishop and kind of parachute him into the situation last year was really Ken Miller's decision. I think that decision was made elsewhere, and when that happened, Ken Miller managed it, did his best with it, but that was not his choice. And he comes in now, and now he's with Stephen Giles and Darian Durant. He is allowing them to learn from mistakes, and boy, are they reaping the benefits of that.
Luka Kanji attempting his 5th of the night on 3rd and 1. And Kanji fattens up his average. Tonight's game story brought to you by Molson Canadian. This is our beer.
One of the strong suits of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers all year has been that giveaway takeaway ratio, and they've been pretty good at it, but not this one. This is a game won by the Saskatchewan Roughriders on those turnovers and then points off them. They've capitalized. Wes Cates played very well again.
Cut down. Good play by James Patrick. There is a flag on the field. 45 points against a Bomber team that had been pretty stingy, allowing about half that per game all season, or at least for the first half.
And I'm going to bring something up, and I'm going to preface it by saying that I am not this man's agent,
Illegal block, Winnipeg, number 24. 10-yard penalty, first down.
And I know there are a lot of people that say that he has done too many things to get another chance. I don't know why, but we mentioned Casey Printers having a little fun early on, but when you look at the quarterback situation in Winnipeg, is he not a better option?
I can't argue that.
I just, and I know they took a look at him early in the process and decided not to go that direction. And I know the detractors, and I know what they say. I've in the past talked to Casey Printers since then in training camp. He understands, and he's looking for that next chance.
If his name was in the discussion before Michael Bishop was called, that discussion was very short. Bishop considered the best option, and after 6 games his record will be 2-4, and a guy who was the outstanding player in 2004
I guess
is waiting by the phone.
Yeah, I guess I'm just a little confused in some ways. I mean, there are leagues and
Offside.
games where
Saskatchewan, number 98. 5-yard penalty, remain first down.
Joe Sykes called offside.
There are leagues where convicted felons who serve their time get second chances. Here's a former most outstanding player in the Canadian Football League sitting by his phone, staying in shape, throwing the football. Is he not a better option than what the Bombers have right now? It's a little surprising.
Pressure on Randall.
Oh, they got it.
That sails 5 yards past the intended target, Robbie Bryant.
And I preface that because I know there are people that think that I'm sort of Casey Printer's buddy, so I keep bringing him up because of that reason. That's not the case at all. We all know what he was capable of years, and maybe he has lost it, but does Mike Kelly, is it hurt him to bring him into the practice roster even? Let him practice for a couple weeks. If he's a bad teammate, you cut him, no problem. It's done.
Problem is, he wasn't in anybody's camp, and I don't know if you can parachute anybody in and solve a problem midway. Look out, Omar Morgan. And Morgan down to the 1-yard line. Touchdown saving tackle there by Glenn January. But that one was easy, and Morgan has interceptions in back-to-back weeks.
And I would suggest that the time is now desperate, though, for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. I mean, then just the struggles at quarterback continue to mount. And, you know, when we were in the break, the last one, I got a quick email from Matt Dunnigan in the studio who said the Bombers are struggling at quarterback. And, you know, and I know that's stating the obvious. But the guy is waiting by his phone, and it's desperation time, I would think, here in Winnipeg.
So 1st and goal from the 1 for the Roughriders. More points off turnovers. Likely to be added. West Cates, and that was easy. Touchdown Roughriders. And they'll get into the 50s here against their arch rivals.
Boy, and this doesn't happen very often, especially not here. You remember, you mentioned just 3 wins for Saskatchewan in the last, 19 games here, Canada Stadium, and it's been history of these two teams when they play the back-to-back and the Labor Day game. It's usually won by Saskatchewan, and then this one, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers step up no matter what their record has been, but boy, not here this evening.
Montreal Alouettes scored 50 against Winnipeg back in 2003. And here we have 52 points on the board from the visiting Saskatchewan Roughriders. Big day for West Cates. And a reminder, Football Night in America tonight on TSN. It's the Bears and the Packers. Jake Cutler, Aaron Rodgers in their NFL opener.
Brett Favre got off to a good start, looks like.
National Football League. I'm concerned about that move in Minnesota, but that's a good team.
There's your quarterback numbers on the night. Michael Bishop, less than 100.
Well, and the only thing I'd put on the coaching staff is that early in that first quarter, well, not the only thing, but the one thing in that first quarter is that I really thought we'd see a lot more Fred Reed, no matter what Saskatchewan did. I thought they'd take their strength and try and establish Fred Reed and see, and they didn't. They didn't give him the ball until late in that first quarter, and then it was almost too late by then.
7 of the 10 games this year for the Bombers under 200 yards passing.
Yeah. And somewhere along the way, even the defense will give up hope. And that's a tough situation. On the other side of that coin, the Saskatchewan Roughriders, as we mentioned in that third quarter break, Chris, it looked like they're really poised to take a run here. And well, this is not only a win, this is really making a statement.
Well, they move into a tie with Calgary at 6-4. Edmonton at 5-5, and again, the Roughriders will have a home against the Eskimos starting in Regina next Sunday. And that Eskimo defense better stiffen up. Ron Johnson could get the nomination for best bomber of the day.
Yeah, he can sign his photo. He can sign his picture, no question.
Roughriders had 55 points in a game last year against Edmonton. 52 with 5:42 to go. But this game's a lot more fun when the game is a lot closer.
Yeah. Well, no question. And Michael Bishop will be now go back in at the controls after the interception by Brian Randall.
Too much to expect that Casey Bramlett could take any snaps you would think today coming in on Wednesday. Now feed the football to the running backs. See if you can build on something, some kind of momentum. Then again, if Fred Reed's slow to get up, you worry about that too.
No question.
That would add injury to insult today.
Bombers have Montreal 3 times down the stretch. You mentioned that earlier, Chris, and that's just...
Well, this is a disastrous weekend. Couldn't be worse to be embarrassed on home field, and the Toronto Argonauts with a win.
Yeah.
Their 3rd win. Tackle made by Jarrell Freeman without his helmet. But it is a first down for the Bombers.
And they'll go Montreal, Toronto, and Edmonton. BC Lions is another team that both Winnipeg and Toronto are looking at the possible crossover down the line. Losing a close one in Montreal here before our game.
Pass out of the reach of Edwards. I think your Casey Brenner comments are going to be hotly discussed this week.
I just don't know what you have to lose to look at him. You know, I don't think you bring him in and you start him the next day. I don't think you parachute him in and ask him to ride the white horse and save the day. But you bring him into the practice roster, you let him throw, you let him hang with the team, and you see how he is.
Bishop downfield, jump ball, and this is intercepted. Lance Frazier has his 2nd of the year. His first was run back for a touchdown. And he'll be hauled down short of the end zone this time. But another big return for Lance Frazier and another turnover for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
He just went up and took this one. He's just going to open up. He knows that Michael Bishop's trying to go deep. Terrence Edwards, the intended target, and he just went up and took it away from him.
7th turnover of the game. These Bombers were +10 giveaway takeaway prior to last week's Labor Day Classic. They are now -1.
Well, the early turnovers that turned into those quick 14 points was the real difference in this game, put them in the hole. And then they just keep adding up. Fun games to play if you're Saskatchewan, because those stats games, you go in and I know you get in that huddle and you think, boy, we can really pad our stats here, boys. They're kind of throwing them to the wrong team.
Injured Rough Rider on the sidelines, actually just off the field of play, but close enough that they are waiting till he gets attention before we resume. Stephen Giles gets a chance to, excuse me, it's Glenn January of the Bombers hurt down on the sidelines. Darian Durant savoring this with the Rough Rider fans who made the trip, and there's more green in the stands right now than the home side fans.
It's hard not to like him. It really is. I mean, you know, he will have his quarters and he'll have his plays because of his lack of experience, but 10-4 now as a starter.
Hey, James Brown, relax for a few minutes left of the game, okay?
Look back since the year 2000, with all the quarterback problems over here in Winnipeg. You look back to the year 2000, and in that time,
what's up, everybody back home?
Quarterbacks have winning records.
Watching, I love you, baby. I love you.
Marcus Crandall was 10-6. Kerry Joseph 18-12, and now Durant at 10-4.
Chris Starka straight ahead. Now we have one more play before the 3-minute warning.
And at this point, it's almost like both teams are going to go to the Rules Committee next year and talk about the mercy rule and just sort of wrap it up.
I'm all for straight time at this point. Is it going to stand? And offside against, yes we do, offside Saskatchewan, and that will take 6 off the board for Bagg. So we'll come back. 3-minute warning to the benches. Wendy's Friday Night Football continues later this week. The Calgary Stampeders roll into Hamilton to take on the Tiger Cats. An East-West battle, live coverage at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific. And a Milt Stegall fan in the midst of all that green, celebrating behind the Rough Rider bench. I'm not sure Milt could have changed this one now.
Unless he could throw.
And offside took the touchdown away from Rob Bagg, and it's 2nd and 11. Stephen Giles, Stu Ford. And Stu pulled down by Derek Doggett. In at linebacker for the Bombers. A guy that's been so good on special teams, the former Eskimo, that the Bombers trying to find a spot for him on defense. And Luka Kanji will come on again.
He's athletic. Yeah, he's the guy who stands 6'3". But you're right. They like Derek Doggett. That's how you make the team a lot of times. You play well on the special teams and work your way onto the starting roster.
I hear that's how you made the team.
Well, you play the teams, you become that much more valuable, and he's one of the best on those cover teams.
Ken Miller wasn't fooling when he said he's going to get Kanji more work. 6 straight field goals today, and they match that 55-point output from a year ago. It's now 31 points off turnovers for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Pretty easy to determine that as the key stat in the game.
Yeah, bad decision there early on by Michael Bishop. Throw it across his body into traffic. Then some sloppy handling of the football. Darius Bowman, Vincent Bernard weren't really rocked by big hits. And then it just really started to add up and get ugly. Omar Morgan.
Haven't been many afternoons longer than this for that man in pro football. Michael Bishop with 5 interceptions in 2 games. $13 turnovers in 2 weeks for a team that had done a pretty good job of protecting the football and had been winning the giveaway takeaway exchanges week after week. Up to the 44-yard line. And it will be Bishop to finish up. I wondered if you'd give Bramlett a series just to say welcome to the CFL.
A little early, yeah. I mean, you're throwing him out there now. I mean, you saw what happened when Brian Randall went out there. Very first play, he was hit. The ball popped up and was intercepted. Casey Bramlett, what is he had 1-2 practices maybe?
Yeah. Bernard, the running back. Osterhaus lines up at tight end, and Evanson Bernard straight ahead, fumbles the football. Eddie Davis has got it. Trying to get outside on Darius Bowman, and Bowman will toss him out.
Our fans are just having a blast now. Doesn't seem to matter what the Winnipeg Blue Bombers try. It's you know, we mentioned earlier about that your quarterback and that they have to give you hope, and this is a team that looks like it's lost all hope. And their defense is now just not tackling like they used to, and just putting the ball on the ground again. Again, not another big hit there. They're just sloppy with the football.
And now 41 takeaways for that defense on the year for the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Well, you got to start to really like their personnel on defense. Stevie Baggs and John Chick up front, the hottest ends in the game right now. And then a secondary with the veteran Eddie Davis. Just had that play. James Patrick playing well at safety. Omar Morgan in his comfort zone.
Still got a little bit of speed left in me.
Kitwana Jones will be.
That's how we do it, baby.
As part of the
Roughriders
defense.
are for real this year, baby.
Special teams likely next week. And
timeout, Saskatchewan.
For some reason, we have a Saskatchewan timeout. They didn't like their alignment. Well, a guy that was, I don't think, ever on the receiving end of a game quite like this. We did a double take yesterday when we saw that Winnipeg hat on Hugh Campbell.
I'm doing it again.
It wasn't that he wanted to do a Bud Krant impersonation. He is the proud father of Rick Campbell, who's had better days on the sidelines himself.
Yeah, no question.
What doesn't kill you makes you better. So I guess that's the...
Well, yeah. I mean, you go back to the drawing board. You know, you go back and look at what you've done well, and you try and build on that. But that's a small list right now.
Handoff straight ahead, and John Hines made the point. Yeah, the one game where Hugh Campbell had it handed to him was that Staple Bowl game at Olympic Stadium. But I think that team came back and won 5 in a row after that.
Yeah.
So when he got beat, he learned from it, that's for sure.
That's the key. I don't know. I just can't get my head around that Winnipeg hat, though. But you got to support your son.
Had it on at Commonwealth. The first visit to Winnipeg. He won't forget it, although he'd probably like to. Sarka straight ahead again. On 3rd down, they plow forward, and we're down to 39 seconds left. And these folks are happy they made the trip.
Saskatchewan, Calgary now tied atop the West. Edmonton and BC on their heels. That race for the bye begins.
Lions at 4 wins. Argos with 3. Bombers with 3. And they'll put a knee down one more time and put this one in the books. (29-14) in the Labor Day Classic. Far more decisive here today. The Saskatchewan Roughriders win back-to-back for the 2nd straight year against their rivals from Winnipeg. 55-10 the final. And it's time for football night in America as we say so long from Canada Stadium.